Chapter 1231. Nalan Bing was hit by Mo Shui's peerless flame dragon slash at such a close distance. Even if she didn't die, she would be seriously injured. Yi Xian expected Nalan Bing to die under this attack. However, Nalan Bing was a reincarnator, and he couldn't let his guard down when fighting her. However, it didn't matter whether Nalan Bing died or not. The flame dragon was biting her and flying away. Yi Xian's real target wasn't her, but the scarred killer and the other 8 fulfillment realm experts. Slaughter feast. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. At the same time, the light in this area grew dimmer and dimmer. Another group of strange beasts appeared in the sky. This time, Yi Xian was prepared to fight to the death. That was why he summoned almost all of the strange beasts. His goal was to hide his figure. Not good. The scarred killer's expression changed when he saw Yi Xian in front of him. Scar, you're going to die too. Yi Xian gathered his true energy and slashed at the scarred killer. Killing intent explosion. Peerless flame dragon slash. Another flame dragon rolled out and engulfed the scarred assassin. However, the scarred killer was the second target, so he was prepared to defend himself. Right now, there were only 8 martial practitioners at the first level of the fulfillment realm left. However, they weren't the only ones here. There was another one. Transform. Luo had appeared behind the 8 people at some point in time. Moreover, her fur had turned completely gold. Demon Fox Flash. Luo transformed into a golden lightning bolt. Immediately, a series of crisp sounds rang out. Hiss, hiss, hiss. First kill. Second kill. Third kill. Yi Xian's amplification grew stronger and stronger, and his aura grew stronger and stronger. These 8 first-level fulfillment realm experts didn't even have time to react before their heads were cut off by Luo. 8 consecutive kills. Yi Xian's amplification reached an unprecedented height. Double. At the same time, his killing intent soared to the highest point. However, it could go even higher. Young master for you. Luo threw the 8 yin and yang rings to Yi Xian. Yi Xian caught the yin and yang rings and devoured everything inside, increasing his strength once again. After the preparations were complete, Yi Xian couldn't help but reveal a devilish smile. Everything was ready. Now, it was time for him to start a massacre. Come, let me show you the might of Bladestorm. Yi Xian's eyes turned cold. He threw out the Skyquake sword in his hand. In the blink of an eye, there were thousands of Skyquake swords. Not only that, but the heaven-shaking swords were also covered by a strange energy, and they all turned into blood-red swords. Wei Zhentian, tear them apart. Yi Xian shouted in his mind. After accumulating for so long, he could finally witness the might of Bladestorm with his own eyes. At this moment, Yi Xian was extremely excited. Although Nalan Bing and Nalan Jie had reunited, both of them were seriously injured. Although they were reincarnators, could they survive the storm of thousands of blood-red swords? Looking at the thousands of blood-red swords, the 2 siblings' faces sank. Could it be that they were going to die here this time? Both of them were old monsters who had lived for thousands of years. There were many reincarnators among the souls that had died under the swords. Even if reincarnators were awakened, they would only have memories. It wasn't that easy for them to grow. In this world, reincarnators were dying all the time. Could it be that they were going to become one of them? No, we can't die here. Sister, set up the formation. Nalan Jie panicked. The seriously injured Nalan Bing nodded fiercely. Layers of ice crystals suddenly condensed on the long sword in her hand. The Xianming duo demons were very famous in the underworld. Their mission completion rate was very high. Their individual combat strength was actually not strong. They couldn't compare to Mo Shui, but their teamwork was flawless. However, what made them fearful was that they were good at a super sword formation. Shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon. Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword Formation. Nalan Jie and Nalan Bing moved quickly. They used the strength of all things to condense the shadows of a flame dragon and an ice dragon. The 2 different true qis merged together. In an instant, a magical defensive formation was formed around the 2 of them. Yi Xian couldn't help but widen his eyes when he saw this scene. Ding! Copy of Shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon successful. Ding! Copy of Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword Formation successful. 2 system notifications sounded in succession. What surprised Yi Xian was that these two superpowers were the same as the unparalleled Flame Dragon Slash. They were both growth-type superpowers. In order to learn the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation, one must first learn the Shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon. However, Yi Xian had the Eye of Revelation and copied it directly. Let's see if the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation or my Sword Storm is more powerful. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He controlled Megatron to attack the two of them. In an instant, thousands of blood swords turned into blood rays and attacked the Xianming duo. Sword Storm was a new skill created by the fusion of Scarlet Storm and Thousand Returning to Origin swords. Its power was much stronger than Thousand Returning to Origin swords. However, Megatron was only at the 9th level of the ethereal opening realm. In Yi Xian's estimation, the Xianming duo would definitely die in the Sword Storm. As for Yi Xian, he directly used the shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon to attack the scarred assassin who was closest to him. The scarred assassin was injured just now. Now that Yi Xian had obtained a growth-type superpower, it wouldn't be too difficult to kill him. Damn it! The scarred assassin looked at Yi Xian, who had turned into a dragon, and rushed towards him. His expression changed drastically. He hurriedly shouted, "Mad Dragon, save me!" What he said was to save me, not to help me. This was enough to see how powerful Yi Xian was now. In the distance, Mad Dragon saw this and also attacked Yi Xian. In fact, he already had the intention to escape. However, the scarred assassin was his best friend since childhood. If he was in trouble, he still had to help. At this time, he didn't care about Nalan Bing and Nalan Jie because he felt that the siblings would definitely die. As long as I kill you, the killing feast will increase again. At that time, the Xianming duo will definitely die. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He suddenly cloned. After the Gemini bloodline had increased many times, he rarely used clones to fight. This was because the combined form could increase his strength by 50%. However, this time, he wanted to give it a try. Let me see the power of the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword Array. Yi Xian's original body held a Fire-type immortal artifact, while his clone held an Ice-type immortal artifact. The two of them used the shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon. Like Nalan Jie and Nalan Bing, they turned into a Fire Dragon and an Ice Dragon and attacked the Scarred Assassin and Mad Dragon. Chapter 1232. Nalan Jie and Nalan Bing had painstakingly obtained the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation. Now, Yi Xian had secretly learned it. How was that possible? The Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation required two people to have a tacit understanding to master. Nalan Jie and Nalan Bing were siblings. Coupled with 1,000 years of tacit understanding, it was not easy for them to master it. Yi Xian had suddenly split into two and performed the same technique. This was already beyond their understanding. However, they did not have time to think so much. What they were about to face was thousands of blood swords. Fusion of ice and fire. Roar of the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon. Roar! The Flame Dragon and Ice Dragon suddenly merged into one and let out an earth-shattering roar. The blood swords that had not yet approached were all blown away by the roar. What? Yi Xian heard the roar from afar. Yi Xian's body trembled. He did not expect the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation to have such a move. Unfortunately, he missed it and could not copy it down. At this time, the Xianming dual demons used their ultimate move to repel the thousands of blood swords and quickly turned around to leave. The red-blue sky dragon formed by the combination of the Flame Dragon and Ice Dragon was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had stepped out of Yi Xian's detection range. They're running. Yi Xian's expression changed greatly. This time, it was not easy for him to intercept these two people. He was prepared to catch them in one fell swoop. How could he let them escape? Nalan Bing is seriously injured, Nalan Jie lost an arm, and I have the death hunt order. You can't escape. Yi Xian quickly calmed down. With the death hunt order, he could sense the location even if the other party was at the ends of the earth. Since Nalan Bing and Nalan Jie had met, they would not be separated. As long as Yi Xian finished off Scar and Mad Dragon, the killing feast would receive a second boost and quickly catch up with the Xianming dual demons. Let me see the power of the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation. Yi Xian's original body and clone, one ice and one fire, charged towards Scar and Mad Dragon. Kid, don't underestimate us. Scar and Mad Dragon joined forces as well. Two mighty experts at the second level of the fulfillment realm were actually working together to deal with a brat at the 8th level of the nether passage realm like Yixian. If news of this were to spread, they would probably become a laughingstock. However, in the current situation, whether or not he could survive was already a problem. Why would he care about face? The Ice and Fire Double Dragon Sword Array required extremely high tacit understanding. Nalan Bing and Nalan Jia also spent many years to successfully cultivate it. Although this Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array didn't have proficiency, the power displayed by Yi Xian was still somewhat inferior to that of the mysterious underworld twin demons. The Xianming duo demons were able to unleash about 80% of their power, and this was after they had practiced it countless times. However, Yi Xian's original body and doppelganger had perfect chemistry. As long as he was given some time, he would definitely be able to unleash the full power of the Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xian's original body and doppelganger clashed with Scar and Mad Dragon. Although Yi Xian's strength had increased by 50% after merging with his doppelganger, the power displayed by the Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array had already surpassed his after merging with his doppelganger. Boom! 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 Yi Xian's original body and doppelganger attacked continuously. At first, Scar and Mad Dragon were still able to hold on for a bit. However, as time passed, it became very difficult for them. Scar and Mad Dragon were both heavily injured. If the blade storm swept over, they would instantly be torn into pieces. However, Yi Xian wanted to use his own strength to kill the two of them. Therefore, he only used the blade storm to surround the battlefield. Seeing this, Scar and Mad Dragon's expressions were extremely gloomy. Facing so many blood swords, they probably didn't have a chance of survival. However, they still felt that there was a chance. These blood swords were controlled by Yi Xian. As long as they killed Yi Xian, no one would be able to control these blood swords. Kill! There was only killing intent left in Scar and Mad Dragon's eyes. At the same time, Yi Xian was using these two second-level Fulfillment Realm experts to temper his Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array. This Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array is even more powerful than Mo Shui's Peerless Flame Dragon Slash. It just so happens that I have the Gemini bloodline, so this skill was prepared for me. Yi Xian was very satisfied. It was because of this that he let the Xianming twin demons leave and didn't immediately chase after them. Boom! 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 The sounds continued. Yi Xian fought two Fulfillment Realm experts by himself. Moreover, he had the upper hand. This battle result was enough to make any genius in this area speechless. As the battle continued, Yi Xian's original body and doppelganger became more and more in sync. The Xianming twin demons were siblings, but they were two people after all. Therefore, they could only use 80% of the Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array's power. However, Yi Xian was one person. His original body and doppelganger had the same thoughts, so he could use 100% of the Sword Array's power. Yi Xian soon reached this level. It's about time. Dang! After 30 seconds of fighting, Yi Xian finally couldn't hold back and started killing. At this time, the Feast of Slaughter's effect had long since worn off. Fusion of Ice and Fire. Roar of Ice and Fire Twin Dragons. Roar! The two dragon shadows that Yi Xian's original body and doppelganger suddenly merged into one and let out a dragon roar that shook the sky. The Xianming twin demons used this move just now. It was a sound wave attack. They used this move to knock away the 1,000 blood swords and then escape. Yi Xian hadn't succeeded in copying it just now, but after half a minute of tempering, he actually comprehended it himself. Yes, he comprehended it. Boom! Scar and Mad Dragon felt intense pain in their ears. Even their heads felt heavy. Their bodies were sent flying by the sound wave attack, and they spat out several mouthfuls of blood along the way. What a powerful attack! If I were at the 9th tier of the Nether Passage realm, Scar and Mad Dragon might have died under this attack. Yi Xian was also shocked. However, the roar of ice and fire consumed too much true qi. At his level, he could only use it once. Alright, it's time to reap your lives. Yi Xian didn't plan on playing anymore. With his aptitude, he'd already mastered the ice and fire twin dragon sword formation to the point of perfection in a short period of time. He'd even surpassed the Xianming dual fiends and was able to unleash 100% of its power. In an instant, the two heavenly dragons formed by his original body and doppelganger attacked Scar and Mad Dragon respectively. Roar! The two dragon shadows, one ice and one fire, Swallowed Scar and Mad Dragon. The former was frozen into an ice corpse by the extreme cold inside the heavenly dragon's body, while the latter was burned to ashes by the extreme heat. 2 second-level fulfillment realm assassins were dead. Chapter 1233. Yi Xian was very satisfied that he was able to kill 2 second-level fulfillment realm experts who were 3 realms higher than him. Although the Xianming duo demons had escaped, he had learned this growing divine ability that was even stronger than the peerless flame dragon slash. This ice and fire dragon sword formation seems to be stronger with my flame sword. Is it because I learned the peerless flame dragon slash? This doubt flashed through Yi Xian's mind. Right now, the peerless flame dragon slash was stronger than the ice and fire dragon sword formation. However, when the peerless flame dragon slash grew into the true flame dragon slash, it would probably be able to shake off the ice and fire dragon sword formation. He didn't know how strong the ice and fire dragon sword formation would become. However, he would think about these questions later. The most important thing now was to chase after the injured Xianming duo demons. After all, the mission to kill Nailan Jie had a 1-day time limit. At this time, Wei Zhentian had already returned to his original state. He helplessly rushed in front of Yi Xian. "It's not your fault. I haven't broken through yet, so you're stuck at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm." Yi Xian comforted him. He was only at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm. If he hadn't broken through to the Fulfillment realm, Wei Zhentian wouldn't have been able to break through. If Wei Zhentian was already a rank 3 divine artifact, then the Xianming duo demons would have died even if they used the roars of ice and fire dragon slash. The blade storm is a waste, but it's nothing compared to the ice and fire dragon sword formation. When he thought of this, Yi Xian turned to look into the distance. At this time, more than half a minute had passed since Nailan Jie and Nailan Bing escaped. These 2 reincarnators were peerless assassins in their past lives. They were skilled at tracking, so they naturally wouldn't leave any traces. Half a minute was enough for them to run for a long time. Unfortunately, Yi Xian had placed a death warrant on Nailan Bing. Even if Nailan Bing ran to another holy land, Yi Xian would be able to sense her location. "Come, I'll let you experience the feeling of being chased." Yi Xian immediately merged with his shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon and chased after them. In order to master the Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array, one must first master the shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon. At the same time, the shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon was a movement technique that allowed one to fly in the air. It was very useful. However, Yi Xian's agility advancement skill gave him a movement speed boost on land, so he decided to use it on land. It would be faster. Nailan Bing stopped. After chasing for 3 seconds, he realized that Nailan Bing had stopped moving. The distance between him and Nailan Bing was rapidly shrinking. Could it be that his injuries are so severe that he's on the verge of death? Yi Xian frowned. If that was the case, then it would be a tragedy, because Nailan Jie could directly put away Nailan Bing's corpse. This way, the death warrant would be refreshed, and he would lose track of Nailan Jie. However, the mark of the death warrant was still there, which meant that Nailan Bing was still alive. Yi Xian continued to give chase. When the distance between them was very close, he slowed down and slowly approached. Nailan Bing and Nailan Jie were both injured. Nailan Jie was fine, as only his left arm was broken. However, Nailan Bing was hit by the flame dragon's peerless slash head-on. It was a miracle that she was not burned to death. At this time, they were no threat to Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian was curious as to whether the 2 of them would reveal some secrets after awakening. For example, who asked the underworld to find them? Could it be related to the temple of Yin Yang? Therefore, Yi Xian used the assassination mode to hide his presence and quietly approached. Nailan Bing and Nailan Jie thought that they did not leave any clues, so they found a random mountain and hid in a cave. Yi Xian approached to see if he could hear anything useful. After all, there was still plenty of time. However, when he got closer with his extraordinary senses, he heard some unusual sounds. This was Nailan Bing's voice, and it sounded a little strange. Ever since Yi Xian activated the Eye of Perception, he was used to it. After all, every time he entered a city, he would hear such sounds. Damn, this pair of siblings, they actually... Yi Xian was shocked. With his powerful senses, not only did he hear it, he also felt it. The 2 figures in the cave were intertwined together, doing some kind of activity not suitable for children. This gave Yi Xian a fright. One must know that Nalan Bing and Nalan Jie were siblings. In his previous life, Yi Xian did not know if the mysterious underworld duo demons were siblings. However, in this life, Nalan Bing and Nalan Jie were the children of the Northern Heavens Academy's dean, Nalan Hao. This could not be fake. However, siblings who were related by blood were actually doing this kind of activity. Wasn't this messy? They were running away just now to avoid my pursuit. It's impossible for them to do this kind of thing. Yi Xian suddenly reacted. At this time, only a minute had passed since the battle just now. The siblings could not let down their guard. Of course, this was not certain. After all, the two had lived for 20 years before awakening. They might not be able to hold it in. However, at this time, Yi Xian's extraordinary senses felt that Nalan Jie's broken arm was actually beginning to heal. Sure enough, they were not just messing around. Dual cultivation. They are dual cultivation. They are using dual cultivation to recover their injuries and true qi. Yi Xian immediately reacted. He never thought that the mysterious underworld duo demons would use such a method to cultivate. It was no wonder that they could catch up to Mo Shui, who had cultivated for thousands of years. In his previous life, the mysterious underworld duo demons were unmarried. They were together all the time. Everyone thought that they were like this because they constantly pursued the martial Dao. However, who knew that they were messing around? Scary, this is too scary. Yi Xian could not help but shiver. Even if it was to increase their cultivation speed, it was a little too messy for siblings to do this kind of thing. However, at this time, Yi Xian did not want to care so much. He was ready to seriously injure the two and then interrogate them about the matter and the supernatural power. At this moment, he took advantage of the two in the cave and rushed into the cave. Ah! Nalan Bing's voice echoed in the cave. However, the moment Yi Xian stepped into the cave, the voice stopped. Nalan Bing and Nalan Jie, who were deep in the cave, trembled violently and quickly separated from their combined state. Someone's here. Nalan Bing and Nalan Jie immediately reacted. Although Yi Xian had concealed his aura, the mysterious underworld duo demons were peerless assassins. They immediately discovered Yi Xian. At this time, they were guessing who the intruder was. Was it Yi Xian, Scarface, or Mad Dragon? They were very confident that they did not leave any traces on their escape, not even true qi fluctuations. Chapter 1234. The Xianming duo's plan was to use dual cultivation to quickly recover their injuries and true qi, then counterattack. However, it had to be said that if they were suddenly interrupted while doing this, even an ordinary person would be enraged. The two of them didn't even bother to put on their clothes. They directly drew their swords and glared at the front. After this period of dual cultivation, Nalan Jie's broken arm had been completely healed, and Nalan Bing's injuries had also recovered by quite a bit. Not only that, but even her realm had broken through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. Sensing the change in aura, Yi Xian couldn't help but stop in his tracks. The Xianming duo has a special dual cultivation technique. Nalan Bing has broken through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm in less than a minute. If we don't kill them this time, won't we be able to break through to the fulfillment realm soon? Yi Xian couldn't help but think to himself at the entrance of the cave. Mo Shui was only one person, so he had to rely on pills to recover his cultivation. However, the Xianming duo could use dual cultivation techniques to recover at a much faster rate than Mo Shui. If they didn't succeed this time, then the Xianming duo would quickly pull away from Yi Xian. At this time, Yi Xian was slightly regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would have dealt with the Xianming duo first. However, it wasn't too late. So what if we've recovered? So what if we've broken through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm? Yi Xian's confidence had skyrocketed. Even if he was a level lower than his opponent, he wasn't afraid. Since that was the case, then he wouldn't be negligent. Things might change if he delayed, so he had to deal with the Xianming duo first. Kill! Immediately, Yi Xian split into two and charged into the cave. The cave was quite spacious, but a battle of this level would cause the heavens to fall and the earth to shatter as soon as it started. Soon, Yi Xian met with Nalan Bing and Nalan Jie. The Xianming duo were afraid of Yi Xian, so they didn't even wear clothes, exposing their bodies to the air. Fortunately, the cave was rather dark. Even if the two were naked, ordinary people wouldn't be able to see them. However, Yi Xian had the ability to see in the night. He directly ignored Xianxia and finally looked at Nalan Bing.
If the scholars of the Northern Heavens Academy were to see traces of blood on the thighs of the talented girl in their hearts, wouldn't they immediately go berserk?
Yi Xian sized him up and suddenly remembered that he was running out of nutrition, so he quickly averted his gaze. Who are you? After Yi Xian appeared, Nalan Bing couldn't help but ask. That day, she had awakened at the critical moment and chased after Mo Shui. Later, Mo Shui was killed by an assassin who knew the peerless flame dragon slash. This killer was none other than Yi Xian. Nalan Bing never understood why Yi Xian wanted to kill him. Senior sister, you're really forgetful. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly changed back to his true appearance and sneered. This voice was half familiar to Nalan Bing. She felt like she had heard it somewhere before, but she couldn't remember where. However, the way Yi Xian addressed her revealed a lot of information. Nalan Bing was a talented girl of the Northern Heavens Academy.
To be able to call her senior sister meant that the other party was also a scholar of the Northern Heavens Academy.
However, why would a scholar of the Northern Heavens Academy want to kill her? One must know that even the underworld didn't want to kill her. So why would Yi Xian? It seems that senior sister has forgotten that we met before the moon-worship demonic sect and the underworld attacked the Northern Heavens Academy. Yi Xian said slowly. This hint was very obvious. After hearing this, Nalan Bing immediately thought of a person. That person was Yi Xian, who made the Silent Night ponder. It's you. Nalan Bing cried out in surprise. She never thought that the assassin who was chasing after her would be Yi Xian. How was this possible? One must know that Yi Xian was only at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. In such a short time, he had broken through to the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm and could even fight with the reincarnated ones and force them to flee. Sister, you know him? Nalan Jia asked in shock. Nalan Bing naturally knew Yi Xian. That day, when she saw Yi Xian's famous poem, she was afraid that it would overshadow Nalan Jia's talent. Therefore, she wanted to frame Yi Xian and kill him on the spot. However, she didn't expect that Yi Xian would see through her plan and escape. However, this wasn't important. What was important was why Yi Xian wanted to kill them and Mo Shui's peerless flame dragon slash. Why are you chasing after us? Nalan Bing couldn't help but ask. Hearing this question, Yi Xian answered without thinking. Because I promised Mo Shui that I would kill you and bury you with him. Mo Shui. It was indeed because of Mo Shui. Nalan Bing had been guessing before. However, she originally thought that Yi Xian knew the peerless flame dragon slash because he was Mo Shui's disciple. Now, it seemed that Mo Shui had used the peerless flame dragon slash in his own life to ask Yi Xian to kill them.
The truth of the matter had finally come to light.
If that's the case, then I'd like to see if you still have the ability to kill us. Nalan Bing coldly snorted. Just now, she took advantage of the conversation to quickly take out a set of robes and put it on. Although it was a critical moment now, it was still a bit strange to fight with others naked. Nalan Jia was also prepared to fight to the death. Although Yi Xian's realm was lower than the two of them, he had so many tricks up his sleeve that even they were shocked. Not only could he create identical clones, but he also had the eyes of the void and could instantly learn the ice and fire dual dragon sword formation that they had painstakingly practiced for countless years. If this Yi Xian wasn't eliminated, they wouldn't be able to eat or sleep in peace. The two sides looked at each other quietly. There was no sound in the cave. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. After a full 3 seconds, the sound of wind appeared. Nalan Jia, Nalan Bing, today is the day you die. Yi Xian roared in his heart. He directly formed the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation and attacked the Xianming Duo Demons. Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation. On the other side, the Xianming Duo Demons did the same. This time, it was the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation versus the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation. One side had practiced for countless years, while the other had only practiced for 1 minute. It was unknown who was stronger. In order to make the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation stronger, Yi Xian purposely exchanged for 2 Tier 3 divine weapons called the Scarlet Flame Sword and the Azure Ice Sword. These 2 Tier 3 divine weapons, one was of the fire attribute, and the other was of the flame attribute. They could increase the power of the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword formation. Yi Xian's original body held the Scarlet Flame Sword and formed the shadow of a flame dragon. Yi Xian's clone held the Azure Ice Sword and formed the shadow of an ice dragon. On the other hand, the Xianming duo demons only had superior Tier 2 divine weapons. In terms of weapons, Yi Xian had the advantage over them. As for Megatron and the Thunder Pearl, they assisted Yi Xian in attacking. In the blink of an eye, the two sides began to fight. Flame Dragon against Flame Dragon, Ice Dragon against Ice Dragon. This was the first time they had seen such a battle. Apart from the realm, Yi Xian surpassed the Xianming duo demons in every aspect. This time, the Xianming duo demons would definitely die. Chapter 1235. Bang! 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 A series of loud noises rang out from the cave. The noise was so loud that the entire cave shook. The stone walls above them began to crack and fall. For people of Yi Xian's level, even if millions of kilograms of stones fell on them, they would still be smashed into smithereens. Hence they ignored the terrain. 2 fire dragons and 2 ice dragons were battling. At this moment, Yi Xian did not use his killing intent explosion, nor did he use his Eye of Glory. His current plan was to test the Xianming duo demons and see if there were any other uses for the ice and fire dragon sword formation. Waves of air billowed in the cave. Soon, the entire cave began to collapse. Yi Xian and the Xianming duo demons broke through the stone walls and flew into the air. Kid, why do you know the ice and fire dragon sword formation? Who are you? Seeing that Yi Xian's ice and fire dragon sword formation was no weaker than theirs, Xianxia could not help but ask. Yi Xian was too strange. Hence, Xianxia guessed that he was also a reincarnator. Perhaps, he was someone they knew in their previous life. In fact, Yi Xian had also guessed that they thought he was a reincarnator. Hence, he answered directly, I'm not a reincarnator. I'm just someone who got lucky. The reason why he answered this question was because he had a purpose. Before the Xianming duo demons could speak, he asked directly, Are the two of you related to the Yinyang Temple? Yinyang Temple? Xianxia and Bing were stunned for a moment. They quickly searched their memories, but they couldn't find anything related to this. Humph, if you want to know, then defeat us. Bing snorted. Damn it, how shameless. Yi Xian cursed in his heart. Since that was the case, he did not want to waste time with them. Fusion of ice and fire. Roar of the ice and fire dragons. The 2 dragon shadows formed by Yi Xian's original body and doppelganger suddenly merged into one. What? Bing and Xianxia were shocked. They did not expect Yi Xian to have learned this move. This was too unbelievable. They naturally knew the power of this move, so they did not dare to be careless. Fusion of ice and fire. Dual dragon roar of ice and fire. Boom. The 2 sound waves spread out and collided fiercely with each other. The shock waves that were produced directly broke the trees in the surrounding tens of thousands of li. The birds and beasts all exploded and died without exception. This move consumed a large amount of vital energy. Yi Xian had the bloodline of the divine tree of life, so he could recover quickly. But what about the Xianming duo demons? A minute ago, they had used it once to send the blade storm flying. After that, although they had recovered a lot of their true chi through dual cultivation, they had used up a lot of their true chi after this. However, this move was slightly more powerful than the Xianming duo demons. Yi Xian was directly sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. As expected of the Xianming duo demons. Yi Xian couldn't help but think to himself. But overall, he was the one who had profited. This kind of injury could be healed in the blink of an eye. He was like a cockroach that could not be killed. But at this time, Bing and Xianxia suddenly looked at each other. Then, the 2 sky dragon phantoms suddenly opened their mouths. Double dragon roar. Boom. The vital energy of extreme ice and extreme flame fused, forming an even more terrifying dragon breath. This dragon breath directly blasted towards Yi Xian. If Yi Xian did not dodge this attack, he would definitely die under this attack. But Yi Xian did not need to dodge. It seems that if I don't show some ability, I won't be able to kill you. The 2 Yi Xian's eyes widened. In the next moment, they transformed into Super Saiyan. Golden hair. Golden eyes. Golden armor. 2 sets of brilliant golden armor wrapped the 2 Yi Xian in it. At the same time, the 2 sky dragon phantoms also changed color. One turned golden, the other white. Killing intent explosion. Double dragon roar. The 2 sky dragon phantoms opened their mouths. Boom. Another collision of energy. After the Xianming duo demons used it, Yi Xian accurately copied the double dragon roar and used it immediately. This time, his attack completely crushed the Xianming duo demons' double dragon roar. What? How is this possible? Nailin Bing and Nailin Jie's eyes widened. This move was already the strongest attack they could use at the moment. However, it was easily defeated by Yi Xian. Haha die. Yi Xian revealed a strange smile. It seemed that this time, he could complete Mo Shui's request and the random mission. The Xianming duo demons had no ability to block or dodge Yi Xian's double dragon roar. However, Yi Xian's luck was not very good. Just as the twin dragon roars were about to engulf the twin fiends, a figure suddenly appeared from the horizon and bravely blocked the twin fiends. Then, he used a single hand to block Yi Xian's twin dragon roars. Boom boom boom. The double dragon roar was blocked single-handedly by this mysterious expert and was immediately annihilated. Yi Xian was stunned. Even the despairing Xianming duo demons were the same. They did not expect that someone would interfere midway. Moreover, it was beyond Yi Xian's reaction time. Who is it? When the true energy dissipated, Yi Xian saw that it was a one-eyed old man. However, the aura that this one-eyed old man exuded was so strong that it made his heart palpitate. Yi Xian guessed that this one-eyed old man was at least at the 4th level of the fulfillment realm. He might even be at the 5th, 6th, or 7th level. Because the difference was too great, Yi Xian could not accurately sense it. However, he knew that this was another tragedy. Fortunately, I made it in time. The one-eyed old man sighed in relief. Who are you? Yi Xian's nerves tensed as he hurriedly asked. This old man is One-Eyed Lu Tiangong. The one-eyed old man replied. Not only had Yi Xian not heard of this name, but even the Xianming duo demons had not. However, Nailin Jie and Nailin Bing knew that this one-eyed old man had come to save them. Capture him and I will reward you greatly. Nailin Bing hurriedly said. What she wanted was not Yi Xian, but Luo, who had the Eye of Enchantment and 6 fox tails. However, Luo had a special relationship with Yi Xian and came and went without a trace. Therefore, only by capturing Yi Xian would they know where Luo was. Yes, my lord. The one-eyed old man's eyes lit up as he prepared to attack. With his cultivation, it was too easy to capture Yi Xian, who was at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm. When Yi Xian heard the one-eyed old man's words, he knew that he had no choice but to leave this time. By the time he reacted, the one-eyed old man had already turned into a streak of light and swept toward him. So fast. The one-eyed old man's withered right hand reached for Yi Xian's neck. Chapter 1236. He disappeared? The one-eyed old man was shocked. Although he was wearing an eye patch, he was not dazzled. Yi Xian had really disappeared. When he turned to look, he found that Yi Xian's clone had disappeared as well. Yes, he had disappeared into thin air. However, the one-eyed old man realized that his aura had moved to another place. When he turned around, he found that Yi Xian had fused and attacked Nailin Bing's back. Killing intent explosion. Peerless flame dragon slash. After fusing with Yi Xian, he directly launched a killing move at Nailin Bing. This attack was enough to kill her. Humph, it's not that easy to kill under my watch. The one-eyed old man snorted in his heart. In the next moment, his eye patch turned to ashes, revealing his left eye. It turned out that he was not a one-eyed old man. His left eye was special, so he had to cover it with an eye patch. The pupil of this eye was very strange, but Yi Xian did not see it. At this moment, the one-eyed old man's left eye suddenly flashed. A wave of all creation's force appeared around Nailin Bing's body, protecting her. Boom! Yi Xian's peerless flame dragon slash was blocked by this powerful all creation's force defense. It did not hurt Nailin Bing. Only then did Nailin Bing remember that Yi Xian had the mysterious ability to suddenly appear behind her. Yi Xian had used this move to avoid the one-eyed old man. What? Yi Xian was shocked. What method did the one-eyed old man use to condense all creation's force around Nailin Bing out of thin air? However, he did not care so much at this moment. If his attack failed, he had to escape immediately. Immediately, he broke through the void and entered. You want to leave? Nailin Bing suddenly turned around and slashed at Yi Xian. 3 days soul-chasing sword strike. This move was Nailin Bing's most powerful attack besides the ice and fire twin dragon sword array. Poof! Yi Xian was unable to dodge in time and was pierced through the chest by the sword.
However, his heart was not injured, but there was an additional violent sword aura in his body.
Brat, you think you can escape in front of me? The one-eyed old man's left eye flickered again, and in the next moment, Yi Xian's body stiffened. His lower body was fixed in place, and he couldn't enter the void door. Not good, close the door. Yi Xian's expression changed drastically. Hua! The void door closed, and Yi Xian's upper and lower halves were directly severed. Only the lower half of his body was left behind.
However, the lower half of the body soon withered and turned into ashes.
Escaped? Suddenly, Nalan Bing felt a surge of anger rise within her body.
She turned her head angrily and said, "You have the eyes of myriad forms, but you actually let him escape?"
The one-eyed old man's face stiffened, and he said awkwardly, "I was careless." This was his first time seeing Yi Xian, so he didn't know that Yi Xian had such a trick up his sleeve. That was why he allowed Yi Xian to escape.
Humph!
Nalan Bing was very displeased. If she had the strength now, she would directly kill the one-eyed old man to vent her anger. Unfortunately, her current level was not high enough.
If the one-eyed old man had reacted a little faster, Yi Xian would have been instantly pulled out of the void door.
At that time, he would be a fish on the chopping block, waiting to be slaughtered. At this moment, somewhere in the unmarked common graves, Yi Xian had previously located himself in the unmarked common graves, so this time, he directly broke through the void and returned to the unmarked common graves. In fact, he also had a location in Tianyuan City, but Tianyuan City was too close to the battlefield just now. Just in case, he ran further away.
Phew, that scared me to death.
Yi Xian, who only had half of his body left, breathed a sigh of relief.
At this moment, the bloodline of the divine tree of life in his body began to heal his injuries.
Yi Xian, who had the eyes of eternity, would not die as long as his 2 eyeballs were not destroyed.
However, if he was caught by the one-eyed old man, his life and death would not be up to him. Of course, there was still a trace of sword chi left in his body, so he immediately swung his sword and chopped off his head.
Then, he healed his body except for his head just in case.
That old man didn't only have one eye.
His other eye is more special and conceals his strength. Yi Xian's head thought. When his body was fully healed, he took out a new set of clothes and put them on. Most people had to use their all creations power like vital energy, but that old man's all creations power could be used from a distance. This was very rare. Fortunately, Yi Xian made a prompt decision. Otherwise, he would have been in deep trouble. What a pity. If I had known, I would have acted earlier. Things really do change when delayed. Yi Xian was very regretful. That old man must have come from another underworld to receive Lan Bing and Nalan Jia, and then hand them over to the higher-ups. Now, the Xianming twins were saved by the one-eyed old man. If Yi Xian could not grow to the level where he could fight them in the next few days, he probably would not be able to kill the Xianming twins. Once the one-eyed old man escorts the Xianming twins to a certain place, there will be stronger people to act as guards. At that time, maybe there will be Fragmentation Realm, Nirvana Realm, Longevity Realm, or even Rebirth Realm experts. Yi Xian sighed in his heart. It seemed that the random mission to kill Nalan Jie was going to fail again. Once bitten, twice shy. Fortunately, this time it was only a close call. This reminded Yi Xian of something. In the future, he must not talk too much when facing his enemies. Didn't those bad guys in movies all die because they talked too much? Sigh. Yi Xian sighed again. This time, although he did not kill Nalan Jie, he secretly learned 2 growth-type supernatural powers. This was not a loss. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly felt that the target of the death warrant, Nalan Bing, was getting farther and farther away from him at an explosive speed. It seemed that the one-eyed old man had already left with the Xianming twins. That one-eyed old man has already remembered me, but I have the assassin mode and the eye of control. As long as I change my face and aura, even if I appear in front of them, they might not be able to recognize me. Yi Xian thought to himself. Then, he used the face-changing mask and turned into a stranger. Then, he chased after Nalan Bing. He did not want to give up, because the reward was to unlock a god-slaying bloodline skill. Shadow Step was an escape skill. If the situation had been like before, Yi Xian could have used Shadow Step to increase the distance between them, then use the Eyes of the Void. For this skill, Yi Xian decided to chase after the one-eyed old man and the Xianming twins. At least, he would wait until the random mission was over.
However, the one-eyed old man was extremely fast.
He led the Xianming twins further and further away from Yi Xian. A day later, Yi Xian had already been ruthlessly shaken off.
Young master, I've broken through to the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm.
Luo Luo sent a message from inside the plantation space. Unfortunately, unless she broke through to the fulfillment realm, she would not be of any help in this situation. Amen. Keep working hard. Yi Xian encouraged her. The plantation space was a good thing. As long as it leveled up, it would be able to store heaven-reaching beasts inside. At that time, Luo Luo's cultivation speed would greatly increase. Although the beasts' realms were low, they were still very useful in critical situations. Chapter 1237. Very quickly, another day had passed. At this moment, Yi Xian Li and the one-eyed old man had already left Yi Xian behind by 100,000 streets. If Yi Xian were to travel day and night, he would need at least 10 days to catch up. Forget it. Since I can't catch up, I might as well give up. Yi Xian stopped and probed. Nalan Bing had designs on Luo Luo. Therefore, he guessed that Nalan Bing would definitely send experts to investigate. Therefore, he had to leave this area. I'll chase for another day and wait for the blade storm's cooldown to end. Yi Xian made his decision. Very quickly, another day had passed. At this moment, Yi Xian had already left that area.
As for the one-eyed old man, he was leading the Xianming duo further and further away from him.
It would take at least half a month of travel.
No, the one-eyed old man's speed had suddenly increased.
Perhaps the Xianming duo had already been led by someone else.
Forget it, I'll give up.
This time, Yi Xian had really given up. However, he didn't erase the death-chasing command. After all, he hadn't encountered any troublesome enemies. Looking at the map, he discovered that he was currently in the territory of a power called the Green Sun Sword Sect. The Lu Guang Sacred Ground and Penglai Sacred Ground were mainly sections. Furthermore, there were countless powers. Just the small sects in the Green Sun Sword Sect's territory numbered more than 10. Furthermore, these small sects were all on the level of the Northern Heavens Academy. As for the Green Sun Sword Sect, it was naturally 10 times stronger than the Northern Heavens Academy. Regarding this, Yi Xian was already used to it. This world was originally unfair. Some people were born at the 10th stage of the martial path, while others were born at the sovereign realm. During these 3 days of travel, Yi Xian had passed by countless powers that were comparable to the Northern Heavens Academy. There were also many powers that were stronger than the Northern Heavens Academy. However, the strongest was still the Green Sun Sword Sect. This Green Sun Sword Sect has nothing to do with me. I'll find a place to investigate that one-eyed old man, Lu Tiangong. Yi Xian inwardly said. Yi Xian guessed that the Xianming duo demons had changed their bodyguards when they suddenly sped away. This Lu Tiangong had probably completed his mission and returned to his family or sect. Yi Xian wanted to investigate and see if the other party knew where the Xianming duo demons were going. Although the random mission had already exceeded the time limit, Yi Xian still remembered his promise to Mo Shui. Of course, he could also ask around about the Yinyang Temple. However, just as Yi Xian was preparing to rush to the nearest city, a group of cultivators suddenly appeared in the sky. There were at least 100 of them. Such a large scale. Where are they going? Yi Xian dodged out of curiosity.
This group of martial practitioners were all dressed in the same uniform, and they were all experts at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm at the very least.
Among them, there were more than 30 Fulfillment Realm martial practitioners, which gave Yi Xian quite a fright. However, right at this moment, Yi Xian suddenly discovered that this group of people had a tattoo of a character on their left chest. This meant that they were from the Lu family. Is the Lu family related to that Lu Tiangong? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow.
His original intention to leave was immediately thrown to the back of his mind.
Lu Tiangong was that one-eyed old man from that day. Perhaps he was related to the Lu family. This is truly a case of traveling far and wide in search of something, only to find it by chance. Regardless of whether this Lu family is related to Lu Tiangong, let's take a look first. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. Seeing the Lu family's ferocious appearance, it seemed that they were going to fight. Although he had only met Lu Tiangong once, Lu Tiangong had almost killed him. Naturally, this grudge had to be avenged. Soon, this Lu family group approached Yi Xian.
Yi Xian was only at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm, while the weakest in this Lu family group was at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. Therefore, he was naturally inconspicuous. In fact, not many people even looked at him. That flying scorpion stronghold has gone too far. They actually sealed off the entrance to the primitive world of the wood spirit. This time we must teach them a lesson. That's right. This time, for elders are moving out. We'll definitely beat the crap out of them. My blue sun sword art has also reached the 3rd level. This time, we must have a big battle. When this group of Lu family members passed by, Yi Xian relied on his extremely strong perception to hear some news. Flying Scorpion Stronghold, Primitive World of the Wood Spirit, Blue Sun Sword Art? Yi Xian guessed in his heart. He didn't know what that Flying Scorpion Stronghold and Primitive World of the Wood Spirit were, but that Blue Sun Sword Art caught his attention. Blue Sun Sword Art, Blue Sun Sword Sect. Could this group of Lu family members be disciples of the Blue Sun Sword Sect? Almost all sects nowadays had a 1,000-year-old legacy. It was normal for some families to appear. The Xianming duo demons seemed to have stopped nearby for a while, then suddenly increased their speed. Perhaps that Lu Tiangong is from the Blue Sun Sword Sect, and then handed the Xianming duo demons over to other escorts. Yi Xian guessed in his heart. He originally wanted to investigate, but now that a clue had appeared, he decided to follow this group of Lu family members and take a look. This group of Lu family members had some fulfillment realm experts at the front, who were using the power of 10,000 mammoths to boost their speed and fly. However, after Yi Xian learned the shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon, his speed had increased dramatically. Therefore he could catch up. Elder, someone is following us. Should we? Suddenly someone reminded him. A mere 8th level Nether Passage realm martial artist can catch up to our speed.
He's a genius. He probably wants to see what we're going to do. Ignore him.
The leading white-haired elder didn't think much of it and continued on his way.
Yi Xian followed behind this group of Lu family members and traveled for more than half a day. Soon, he felt an aura that energized him. This aura came from in front of the Lu family members. Using the Eye of Revelation, Yi Xian discovered that there was an entrance to a secret realm in front of the Lu family group. The entrance to the secret realm was also a trans-realm teleportation formation that appeared randomly. This secret realm entrance could be connected to a corner of the Glazed Light Sacred Land, Penglai Sacred Land, or other sacred lands or continents. Beside this secret realm entrance were several brawny men dressed in purplish black. When they saw the Lu family group, their expressions changed.
They hurriedly turned around and prepared to charge into the secret realm.
Humph! You think you can escape from me with just the few of you?
The leading white-haired elder snorted coldly and immediately increased his speed.
At the same time, the group of Lu family experts behind him also used the power of 10,000 mammoths to boost him. His speed was off the charts.
In the blink of an eye, this white-haired elder rushed to the side of the group. Then, with a few swings of the long sword in his hand, he killed several people, leaving only one alive.
Chapter 1238. Flying Scorpion Stronghold. How dare you kill my Qingyang Sword Sex Expedition team? The white-haired elder shouted angrily as he grabbed the last man by the throat. Kill me if you want. The man from the Flying Scorpion Stronghold was stubborn, but he didn't expect this.
Rip! The white-haired elder waved his long sword, and with a flash of green light, the man's head flew into the air.
The Qingyang Sword Sect was righteous, but it didn't mean they didn't kill. The Lu family team arrived at the same time.
Elder, are we going in now?
Someone asked. The Flying Scorpion Stronghold wants to monopolize the primitive world of wood spirit. What wishful thinking.
The white-haired elder snorted and said, All of you are the elites of the Lu family.
You must be careful when you enter the primitive world of the wood spirit. If you see other people or beasts, kill them all. Remember not to be careless.
Yes,
everyone answered.
The Lu family team was at least at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm, and some geniuses had even reached the 1st level of the Fulfillment realm.
This time, they came to the primitive world of wood spirit to train. As I've said before, the most precious thing in the primitive world of wood spirits is the wood spirits. Wood spirits are usually obtained after killing tree demons. They also have different ages and can greatly improve the planting effect of natural materials and earthly treasures. If you get them, you can come to me and exchange them for heart devil elixirs or good fortune elixirs.
The white-haired elder turned to look at the primitive world of wood spirit and said, "You guys go in first."
Yes.
The Qingyang sword sect disciples nodded and entered the secret realm entrance in groups of 2 or 3. After a while, only a few Qingyang sword sect elders were left outside.
Third elder, should we guard the entrance?
A middle-aged elder asked.
No need. The sect leader will be here soon. Let's go in together and kill the flying scorpion stronghold people.
The white-haired elder shook his head.
Okay.
Then, the second and third level fulfillment realm elders entered the primitive world of wood spirit one after another.
As for Yi Xian, who followed the Lu family team here, he pondered for a moment outside.
The wood spirits in the primitive world of wood spirit are very useful for my planting space.
It seems that I should go in and take a look. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes.
Firstly, he wanted to investigate if there was a person called Lu Tiangong in the Lu family. Secondly, the primitive world of wood spirits was also a good place for him to gain experience. The wood spirits could improve the planting effect of the heavenly treasure tree, and maybe even the level of the planting space. Therefore, Yi Xian had to go in. However, the Lu family team had just entered not long ago, so Yi Xian waited outside for a while. About 10 minutes later, he quietly sneaked over. The entrance to this mystic realm is a little unstable. Please don't disappear halfway through. Yi Xian took a look and realized that there were some fluctuations at the entrance of the mystic realm. He didn't know where the primitive world of the wood spirit was located.
It wasn't easy for Yi Xian to get to where he was.
If the entrance to the mystic realm disappeared, he would be in big trouble. After Yi Xian mentally prepared himself, he stepped in. In fact, before he even stepped in, he had already felt a strong yuan qi of heaven and earth. After Yi Xian passed through the entrance of the mystic realm, he found himself in the depths of a forest. The trees in the primitive world of wood spirit were tall and majestic. Each one was like a skyscraper, and they were all heavenly treasure trees. However, one heavenly treasure tree was enough for the planting space. Any more would only rob it of nutrients. In this kind of forest, the most common dangers are heavenly beasts and tree demons. However, with my powerful perception and eye of revelation, I'm no less safe than a third-level intent realm expert. As Yi Xian thought to himself, he used the eye of revelation to scan his surroundings. He didn't find any danger. Now, he also had the ability to track. Although he couldn't compare to Mo Shui and the Xianming duo demons, he could still see which direction the people who had entered before had left. Immediately, he chose to go forward and began to run. After entering the primitive world of wood spirit, he had a premonition that this time, he could at least break through to the 9th level of the ethereal opening realm. Moreover, there would be great opportunities. Perhaps he could upgrade the planting space to the 3rd level. Once the planting space was upgraded to the 3rd level, heavenly beasts could live in it in the future. Although mutated beasts were good, their combat strength couldn't compare to heavenly beasts.
Yi Xian fantasized.
Wouldn't it be awesome if he could cultivate 10,000 powerful heavenly beasts in the future?
Shadow of the Imperial Wind Dragon, go! Yi Xian used a movement technique he had just learned and began to chase quickly.
He could control those martial artists at the 9th level of the ethereal opening realm. First he would ask about Lu Tiangong. Just now, because the group was too large, he couldn't get close and couldn't use the eye of control. However, people at the 9th level of the ethereal opening realm couldn't move very quickly, so Yi Xian was able to catch up to one very quickly. After chasing for a minute, with the help of the eye of revelation, he saw 3 figures. These 3 were all elites of the Lu family. Yi Xian immediately chased after them at full speed.
Careful, there's someone.
The young man who was the leader of the 3 shuddered.
Yi Xian didn't use the assassination mode to hide his presence, but he was still discovered.
This leader was quite capable.
Who is it? Come out.
The leader suddenly turned around and shouted angrily.
Soon, a figure entered his sight.
When Yi Xian darted out of the thicket, the 3 shuddered. 8th level of the ethereal opening realm.
Could he be from the flying scorpion stronghold?
The 3 were puzzled. However, the white-haired elder had said that if they met other people in the primitive world of the wood spirit, there was only one word to say: kill. However, the 3 saw that Yi Xian was only at the 8th level of the ethereal opening realm, so they wanted to capture him and ask him about it.
However, Yi Xian didn't want to waste time with them.
He directly used the scorching hell and the eye of control. Ding. Control successful. Ding. Control successful. Ding. Control successful. 3 system notifications sounded out in a row as Yi Xian successfully controlled the 3 of them. Following that, Yi Xian didn't say anything and directly asked, "Who are you people?" After hearing this, the leader answered without thinking, "We are disciples of the Green Sun Sword Sect's Lu family." "Then is there a person in your family called Lu Tiangong? He wears an eye patch over his left eye." Yi Xian asked again. "Lu Tiangong?" After hearing this name, the 3 looked at each other and said, "The Sky Generation is the ancestor level, but we've never heard of this name." Chapter 1239. Is there a Tian generation? Then I'm not mistaken. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. However, the 3 of them didn't even know who Lu Tiangong was, so they naturally didn't know his whereabouts. "Then tell me more about the primitive world of the wood spirit," Yi Xian asked again. The primitive world of the wood spirit is a secret realm that appeared recently. No one knows where it is. The people who found it that day were from the Qingyang sword sect, but then the people from the Flying Scorpion stronghold also found it, so we discussed and decided to explore it together. However, the bandits from the Flying Scorpion stronghold went back on their word and wiped out the exploration team sent by the Qingyang sword sect. If it weren't for someone desperately sending back the news, we wouldn't have known about it. The young man in the lead said. "Get to the point," Yi Xian reminded him. According to the news that was sent back earlier, many plants in the primitive world of wood spirits produce wood spirits. These wood spirits have many uses, such as speeding up the growth of treasures of heaven and earth, fertilizing the soil, and refining medicine. The young man in the lead paused and said, "However, I heard that there's a strange heaven-reaching beast in the primitive world of the wood spirit. Its combat power is no less than that of humans, and its corpse is more valuable than wood spirits." "A strange heaven-reaching beast? What is it?" Yi Xian asked curiously. "It seems to be a kind of mushroom. This is a portrait." The young man in the lead took out a portrait from his interspatial ring and handed it to Yi Xian. Yi Xian was shocked when he saw it. It was *King mushroom. However, the mushroom had hands and feet, and it was holding 2 battle knives. It looked very out of place. "It should be a strange beast, right?" Yi Xian couldn't help but ask. "We're not sure. In short, it's very powerful. Ordinary mushroom soldiers are comparable to humans in the 9th tier of the ethereal opening realm. In addition, there are more powerful captains, general mushrooms, and emperor mushrooms." After Yi Xian heard this, he also felt that it was incredible. Mushroom soldiers, captain mushrooms, general mushrooms, and emperor mushrooms. Was the primitive world of the wood spirit a mushroom empire? However, even the most ordinary mushroom soldiers were comparable to humans in the 9th tier of the ethereal opening realm. It seemed that there was a great opportunity here. "All right, I got it." Yi Xian lightly nodded his head. He directly took off the spatial rings of the 3 of them, poured out the contents, and returned them to them. This was also the first time the 3 of them had come here. They had only obtained some information. Yi Xian did not kill them. He turned around and left. Regardless of whether the mushroom was a heavenly reaching beast or a mutated beast, its corpse could be devoured by Yi Xian. The primitive world of the wood spirit was a treasure trove for leveling up. Therefore, Yi Xian wanted to break through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm as soon as possible, or even reach the Fulfillment realm. However, not long after Yi Xian left, he sensed that the 3 Qingyang sword sect disciples he had just controlled had died. In the primitive world of the wood spirit, only the Flying Scorpion Stockade and the Qingyang sword sect are enemies. Did these 3 die at the hands of warriors from the Flying Scorpion Stockade, or? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and immediately turned around. No matter what, those 3 people were his subordinates. Now that they had been killed, as their master, he naturally had to take revenge. Soon, Yi Xian arrived near the spot where the 3 people had died. Using the Eye of Revelation, he saw 3 umbrella-shaped figures in front of him. Mushroom people? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. So, his 3 subordinates had been killed by the mushroom people he had just mentioned. Of the 3 mushroom people, 2 were short, and 1 was relatively tall. He was about 1.7 meters tall. "There's a Captain Su," Yi Xian immediately guessed. Captain Su was a human at the 1st level of the Fulfillment realm. It was no wonder that he could kill 3 9th level Nether Passage realm Qingyang sword sect disciples. However,
This strength was not worth mentioning in Yi Xian's eyes. Assassination mode. Yi Xian immediately slipped into the shadows and stealthily crept over. Captain, what should we do with the 3 human corpses? A mushroom soldier asked in the human language. Bury them first. We'll dig them up and send them back after we've dealt with everyone. The relatively tall mushroom captain answered. Their conversation shocked Yi Xian, who was hiding in the shadows. These mushroom people could talk? After hearing this, Yi Xian's first reaction was to wonder if they were monsters. Monsters could talk too. No matter what, he had to kill them first. Killing intent explosion. Flame dragon's peerless slash. Immediately, the sound of wind could be heard. If Yi Xian's sneak attack had succeeded, it would have been enough to kill that Captain Su in one hit. These mushroom people mainly relied on their physique to fight. They did not have true energy, but their full power attacks were not weak. Although Yi Xian had stealthily crept over, his sneak attack was immediately discovered by Captain Su. Bang! The flame dragon swallowed Captain Su and then slammed into a heavenly treasure tree. However, this Captain Su was wearing an unknown set of armor that blocked the fatal blow. Human? The other 2 mushroom soldiers immediately widened their eyes when they saw their captain being sent flying. But at this moment, Yi Xian's eyes flickered twice. Scorching hell. Eye of control. As long as it was a creature with eyes, Yi Xian could control almost all of them. These 2 mushroom people were no exception. Ding! Control successful. Ding! Control successful. 2 system notifications in a row allowed Yi Xian to control these 2 mushroom people. However, that Captain Su was not dead yet. Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword Array. Kill. Yi Xian instantly split into 2, one from the left and one from the right, charging towards Captain Su. Human, I want you dead. Captain Su shouted in the human language. Unfortunately, Yi Xian was going to use his ultimate move now. Dual Dragon Roar. Boom! 1 ice and 1 fire. The 2 types of energy instantly drowned Captain Su. In an instant, Captain Su's aura disappeared as he was directly blasted into powder by this attack. Not only that, even the heavenly treasure tree behind him was blasted into a large hole. The entire tree began to burn, the flames soaring into the sky. Yi Xian was very satisfied with the power of this move to instantly kill a fulfillment realm Captain Su. After Captain Su's death, Yi Xian also received a huge amount of killing intent. However, Yi Xian was helpless because he forgot to keep the corpse. Now that Captain Su was blasted into pieces, what would he devour? Forget it, next time. Yi Xian helplessly shook his head, turned around and walked back. What are you? He glanced at the 3 human corpses on the ground, then asked the 2 controlled mushroom soldiers. Master, we are citizens of the Great Mushroom Empire. One of the mushroom soldiers replied respectfully. Great Mushroom Empire? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. Empires were very rare in the sacred lands. Chapter 1240. Why did you kill these humans and bring their corpses back? Yi Xian asked again. Because human flesh is a tonic for us. It can increase our strength. Yes, we haven't seen a human in the primitive world of wood spirits for 100 years. The 2 mushroom soldiers' answers made Yi Xian fall silent. These mushroom people were carnivorous. Then what kind of creatures are you? Are you heavenly beasts or strange beasts? Yi Xian continued to ask. We're not sure, but we're not like the monster clan. They can take human form and use true energy and interspatial rings, but we can't, answered one of the mushroom soldiers. Let me see the package on your back. After Yi Xian said that, the mushroom soldier opened the package on his back and put it on the ground. Inside, there were 3 fist-sized green stones. Are these the so-called wood spirits? Yi Xian asked with a frown. Master, these are wood spirits. They can also be used to increase our strength. We're looking for humans while looking for tree demons that can produce wood spirits, answered the mushroom soldier. Yi Xian walked over and put away the 3 wood spirits. Then he analyzed them. These wood spirits are really good stuff. They can be used to heal injuries and improve self-healing abilities after refining them. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. He immediately used a special devouring method to devour one of the wood spirits. However, the benefits were minimal. Besides, he had the bloodline of the divine tree of life, so the wood spirits were useless to him. As for the remaining 2 wood spirits, Yi Xian threw them into the planting space. Wood Spirit King, use one of the wood spirits on the heavenly treasure tree. Yi Xian immediately gave the order to the Wood Spirit King in the planting space. The Wood Spirit King was also very interested in the wood spirits, but at first went to carry out Yi Xian's order and put the wood spirits in the hollow of the heavenly treasure tree. In the blink of an eye, the heavenly treasure tree absorbed the wood spirits. It's really good stuff. It's even more effective for the heavenly treasure tree than my blood. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Over the past few days, the heavenly treasure tree had been nurtured with his blood. It had already grown to a height of 10,000 meters. Perhaps it was because he had fed it too much, causing its effects to worsen. However, this wood essence was very fresh to the heavenly treasure tree. A single piece of wood essence allowed the heavenly treasure tree to grow 10 meters. If I can collect more, I might be able to level up the planting space. Yi Xian couldn't help but smile. Then, he asked the 2 soldiers about other things. It turned out that the primitive world of the Wood Spirit not only had the Great Fungus Empire, but also a faction called the Tree Demon Alliance. The Tree Demon Alliance was hostile to the Great Bacteria Empire, and was formed from all sorts of creatures. In the primitive world of the Wood Spirit, other than the mushroom people, there were all kinds of heaven-reaching beasts and strange beasts. These creatures were afraid of being killed by the Great Fungus Empire, so they banded together and resisted for hundreds of years. Among them, the leader of the Tree Demon Alliance was a fairy. This fairy was a strange beast a level higher than the wood spirits. For hundreds of years, it was she who had led the Tree Demon Alliance in battle against the Great Fungus Empire. It's really complicated, but I, Yi Xian, don't belong to the Great Fungus Empire, nor do I belong to the Tree Demon Alliance. All I want is wood essence. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. The Skyquake sword in his hand flashed, and the 2 soldiers' mushroom caps were cut off by him. They died instantly. Then, Yi Xian tried to devour the bodies of the soldiers, but found that he couldn't. This made him feel rather regretful. However, the bodies of the soldiers could be thrown into the planting space as fertilizer, so it wasn't completely useless. This great bacterial empire has a special tracking and marking method. I've already mastered it. Yi Xian thought to himself as he looked around. However, there were no marks left behind by the soldiers. Otherwise, Yi Xian could use the marks to catch up with the other group. The 3 of you are my subordinates. I'll give you a proper burial. Yi Xian muttered to himself as he put away the bodies of the 3 Qingyang sword sect disciples. Then, he quickly left the place and began to wander around the forest. According to the 2 soldiers, the Great Fungus Empire was west of the entrance to the Wood Essence primitive world, while the Tree Demon Alliance was east. Yi Xian needed wood essence, so he needed to enter the Tree Demon Alliance. As long as I have a large amount of wood essence, the planting space might be able to level up. The growth rate of Luo and the exotic beasts will also skyrocket. The space will also be larger, and there will be many more effects. Thinking of this, Yi Xian couldn't help but quicken his pace. Whoosh whoosh. Just as he was hurrying along, he suddenly heard the sound of something breaking through the air, and it was rapidly approaching. Ambush! Yi Xian's figure flashed, and he instantly left the place. Poof! 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 Dozens of sharp branches pierced deep into the ground. If Yi Xian had dodged a little slower, he would have become a sieve. Tree demons! At this time, Yi Xian finally realized that the one attacking him was a type of exotic beast, a tree demon. According to the attack speed just now, this tree demon should be at the fulfillment realm, so the wood essence in its body should be better than the 3 pieces just now. Eye of Revelation. Immediately, Yi Xian swept his gaze around, following the sharp branches, and found the tree demon. The wood essence is in this tree demon's body. With the Eye of Revelation, Yi Xian saw that there was a green stone in this tree demon's body. It was the wood essence, and it was much larger than the 3 pieces he had just obtained. How dare you ambush me? You're courting death. Yi Xian didn't wait for the tree demon to continue attacking, and directly attacked. Peerless Flame Dragon Slash. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The flame dragon roared and blasted towards the tree demon. Tree demons were very difficult to deal with, and ordinary people would have a hard time distinguishing them. However, Yi Xian had the Eye of Revelation, so he could see the wood essence in the tree demon's body. Moreover, his perception was very strong, so he could find it by following the branches. It's been a long time since I met a human. I'm going to kill you and drink your essence blood.
The tree demon suddenly spoke in human language, and then used countless branches to block the peerless flame dragon slash.
You're quite capable, after all. Have a taste of this move.
Yi Xian suddenly split into two.
Fusion of ice and fire.
Twin dragon roar. The ice dragon and flame dragon opened their mouths, and spat out two opposite energies.
Here, the two opposite energies fused together, creating a huge power.
This attack directly blasted through the branch's defense, and then slammed into the tree demon's main trunk.
The tree demon's heart was inside the tree demon's body, which was its weak point. Now that the tree demon's heart was directly shattered, this tree demon immediately died. Chapter 1241.
This piece of wood essence is worth the two pieces from before, but the bigger a piece of wood essence is, the more valuable it is.
Its value is much higher than the 2 pieces of wood essence. It's worth 10 pieces at the very least.
As Yi Xian thought to himself, he threw the piece of wood essence into the planting space and had the Wood Spirit King absorb it for the heavenly treasure tree.
Don't worry, I'll continue. Don't worry. Yi Xian hurriedly said to the eager Wood Spirit King in the planting space.
The Wood Spirit King was also an exotic beast, so the wood essence was very useful to it.
It might even evolve into a flower spirit. If the Wood Spirit King matured, it would be even better at taking care of the planting space.
When he thought of this, Yi Xian immediately started on his way again.
Soon, he arrived at the territory of the Tree Demon Alliance.
Just now, I was in the area between the Great Bacterial Empire and the Tree Demon Alliance.
There weren't many tree demons.
Now that I'm going to enter the Tree Demon Alliance, I have to be careful.
Yi Xian reminded himself in his heart.
The Tree Demon Alliance could fight against the Great Bacterial Empire for hundreds of years, so they definitely weren't weak. They definitely had 2nd or 3rd level Fulfillment Realm Tree Demons. It would be fine if Yi Xian ran into a 2nd level Fulfillment Realm Tree Demon, but if he ran into a 3rd level Fulfillment Realm Tree Demon, it would be troublesome for him.
Roar!
Half a minute after Yi Xian stepped into the Tree Demon Alliance's territory, a beastly roar suddenly attracted his attention.
Is that a Xianxia beast? It seems like someone's fighting it.
Yi Xian paused, then immediately rushed in the direction of the roar. He didn't know if the one fighting the Xianxia beast was a mushroom man from the Great Bacterial Empire, or a human who had just entered the primitive world of wood spirits.
When Yi Xian got closer, he took a look.
The Tong Tian beast was a giant wolf, and it was fighting with 3 burly men. Judging from their attire, they don't seem to be from the Green Sun Sword sect, but the Flying Scorpion Stronghold.
Yi Xian thought to himself.
The Flying Scorpion Stronghold was an evil force. Many fierce people joined the Flying Scorpion Stronghold because they had nowhere else to go. Therefore, the strength of the Flying Scorpion Stronghold was not weaker than the Qingyang Sword sect. The 3 men were all at the 1st level of the Fulfillment Realm while the giant wolf was at the 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm. This time, we've made a huge profit.
Yi Xian's eyes lit up.
Because both the humans and the heaven-reaching beasts were his enemies, he didn't charge out immediately. Instead, he watched from afar, waiting for both sides to suffer.
No, I've already fused with the God of Slaughter bloodline. Killing can increase my killing intent value. No matter who dies, it's a loss.
At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly remembered something. On one side was the ruthless man of the Flying Scorpion Stronghold, and on the other side was the Tong Tian beast, so he didn't need to show mercy.
Luo Luo, let's attack together.
Yi Xian suddenly summoned Luo Luo, who had already broken through to the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm.
Kill!
In an instant, Yi Xian and Luo Luo rushed out together. The 3 men and the giant wolf also noticed Yi Xian and divided their attention to guard against him.
Who is it?
A man from the Flying Scorpion Stronghold exclaimed.
At this time, Yi Xian just happened to jump out. Fusion of ice and fire.
Dual dragon roars of ice and fire.
Rainbow demonic fire.
1,000-layer explosion. Yi Xian and Luo Luo immediately let loose their attacks.
Boom! 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 Immediately, violent sounds came from the area.
The surrounding heaven-reaching treasure trees were all blown apart, and some were even burned to a crisp. The 3 Flying Scorpion Stronghold experts and the giant wolf were seriously injured.
One of them even died.
One more time. Dual dragon roar. The 2 Yi Xian used their ultimate move again, and their target was the giant wolf at the 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm.
Boom!
The dual dragon roar hit the giant wolf, and the two auras of ice and fire drowned it, instantly injuring it.
This wolf's defense is so high, Yi Xian thought to himself.
However, he didn't use his full strength just now because it wasn't necessary.
Eye of Glory.
Dual dragon roar of ice and fire.
Yi Xian used his ultimate move again, and another powerful sound wave attack spread. This time, the two remaining flying scorpion stronghold experts didn't survive.
Not only that, even the giant wolf at the second level of the fulfillment realm was shattered.
In the blink of an eye, both the humans and the heaven-reaching beasts were killed by Yi Xian. Yi Xian's killing intent instantly increased by a large amount.
"Young master, you're so violent right now," Luo couldn't help but say.
Hearing this, Yi Xian couldn't help but grin.
Right now his skills were too violent. All of them were powerful moves. Blade Storm, Dual Dragon Roar of Ice and Fire, Dual Dragon Roar, Burst of Killing Intent, Eye of Glory, Peerless Flame Dragon Slash and so on. However, the three Fulfillment Realm Flying Scorpion Stronghold experts had been fighting the giant wolf for a while, and didn't have much true energy left. That was why Yi Xian was able to take advantage of this opening. Immediately, Yi Xian quickly went over and put away the corpses and universe rings of the three. There are a lot of things and more than a dozen wood essences.
Not bad, not bad. Yi Xian nodded in satisfaction and directly consumed the items. Then, he threw the wood essences into the plantation space. As for Luo, she was once again sent into the planting space. Luo didn't have the divine tree of life bloodline, so her true energy would run out eventually. However, in the plantation space, her recovery speed was very fast. As for the giant wolf's corpse at the second level of the fulfillment realm, Yi Xian naturally put it away as well. The corpse was also thrown into the plantation space. As for the beast soul, Yi Xian devoured it himself. Soon, I'll break through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm very soon. Yi Xian suddenly felt impatient. As long as he broke through, there probably wouldn't be anyone in the primitive world of wood essences who could stop him. He calculated that he probably needed to devour another second level of the fulfillment realm beast soul before he could break through. When he thought of this, Yi Xian left his original spot again and looked for his next target. However, he had only run for a short while when a burst of noise entered his ears. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The clamor was rapidly approaching. Yi Xian turned his head and saw a large group of creatures rushing towards him. It looked like they were bees. What powerful auras! Although each of them isn't very strong and is only at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm, there are at least 1,000 of them. Yi Xian's expression rippled as he decided to take a look first. However, when the swarm of bees came closer, Yi Xian realized that they were coming for him. There are also heaven-reaching beasts in the Tree Demon Alliance. It looks like these bees are here to help the giant wolf. Yi Xian immediately reacted. In the primitive world of wood essences, only the Tree Demon Alliance and the Great Fungi Empire were enemies. The entire Tree Demon Alliance naturally had to help each other. These seem to be exotic beasts, but I don't think I can tame them. In that case, I'll just kill them all. Chapter 1242. Although the benefits of devouring these beasts were less than the heaven-reaching beast, there were so many of them. If they were all killed, the benefits would still be considerable. More importantly, Yi Xian was about to break through. Luo, let's kill them together. Yi Xian summoned Luo again. Group attacks were Yi Xian and Luo's forte. Coincidentally, the effects of the Eye of Glory were still active, so Yi Xian could save some eye power. Fusion of ice and fire. Twin dragon roars of ice and fire. 7-colored demon fire. 1,000-layer explosion. When the group of exotic beasts approached them, the two of them attacked together. Although they were both in the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm, their destructive power was no weaker than that of a 2nd-level Intent Realm expert. Turn all of them into my killing intent. Yi Xian opened his eyes wide. A wave of air swept out, and more than half of the beasts in the air were instantly killed. Luo's terrifying explosive attack followed. Bang, bang, bang. This group of over 1,000 beasts was instantly slaughtered by Yi Xian and Luo. And this was before Yi Xian unleashed his killing intent. In the blink of an eye, there was not a single bee left in the air. Gather around me. Yi Xian used the power of 10,000 mammoths to gather the corpses of the beasts and devour them all. Ding! The host has broken through. The host is now in the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. Finally, he heard the long-awaited notification of a breakthrough. Right now, Yi Xian had already reached the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm.
Even if he were to fight against the Azure Yang Sword Sect team from before, he would probably be able to kill them all.
Breakthrough. I must break through again. Maybe I can still catch up to the mysterious underworld duo demons. Yi Xian said to himself. The time for the random mission to kill Nalan Jie had already passed, but Yi Xian was still in hot pursuit. In fact, he wasn't in a hurry to avenge Mo Shui, but to set a goal for himself.
From the Bloodrock continent to the Penglai Sacred Land, and then to the Luguang Sacred Land, it had actually been a year.
During this year, Yi Xian had run into obstacles everywhere, and had not heard any news about the Yin-Yang Temple. Therefore, he felt that he had slacked off a little. It was also because of this that he needed to find another motivation for himself, a motivation to level up as soon as possible. Without a doubt, the Xianming Duo Demons were his current motivation. Yin-Yang Old Ancestor, Xianming Duo Demons, you are all people that I, Yi Xian, must kill. I will definitely find you. Yi Xian said resolutely as he gazed into the distance.
Although this was the primitive world of the wood spirit, he could clearly sense the location of Nalan Bing, the target of the death warrant.
At this moment, the distance between the two of them was too great. Yi Xian could no longer accurately calculate the distance. He could only sense the general direction. Forget it. Let's not think about it anymore. Let's head deeper into the Treant Alliance's territory. Yi Xian shook his head and threw all the extra exotic beast corpses into his planting space as fertilizer.
Then he began to go deeper. Although he had not broken through to the fulfillment realm, with his various ultimate moves and bloodlines, if he went all out, he estimated that he could exchange blows with an expert of the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm.
Of course, this was only his estimate. An expert of the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm had opened 3 natal palaces in their body. Every time a fulfillment realm expert broke through, the amount and strength of their natal true qi would increase qualitatively. Previously, he was able to defeat the combined forces of Scar and Mad Dragon because they were both heavily injured. Moreover, the Green Yang Sword Sect and the Flying Scorpion Stronghold were not small factions. They probably had many fulfillment divine arts, so it would not be easy to deal with them. There are wood spirits in the Tree Demon Alliance's territory, and the corpses of the Great Fungi Empire's mushroom soldiers are also very good refining materials. I just don't know where the Green Yang Sword Sect and the Flying Scorpion Stronghold went. Yi Xian guessed as he used the Eye of Revelation to scan the surroundings. After a while, he discovered other creatures. The mushroom people of the Great Fungi Empire? Yi Xian thought to himself as he raised an eyebrow and looked at the dozen or so figures in front of him.
There were more than a dozen mushroom people of the Great Fungi Empire in front of him, 10 Captain Su, and a General Su who was a size bigger than the Captain Su. The Captain Su is at the 1st level of the fulfillment realm, and the General Su is at the 2nd level of the fulfillment realm. However, their physiques are far superior to us humans. They might even be stronger than heaven-reaching beasts of the same level. I don't know how they cultivated them. Yi Xian was very curious. It was hard to imagine that a mushroom had hands and legs and could kill people. It was simply inconceivable. At this time, the 11 mushroom people of the Great Fungi Empire were discussing something in low voices. Yi Xian's Eye of Revelation swept over and suddenly found something strange in another place. Tree demons. Yi Xian saw that there was a tree demon's heart and a large piece of wood spirit in one of the heaven-reaching treasure trees. However, this piece of wood spirit was the largest piece he had seen so far. Could it be a 3rd-level fulfillment realm tree demon? Yi Xian guessed in his heart. There was no standard for the level of this heaven-reaching treasure tree, so it was very difficult to estimate. However, if it was a 3rd-level fulfillment realm human martial practitioner, Yi Xian might be a little wary. But this was only a 3rd-level fulfillment realm tree demon. What was there to be afraid of? Even if this tree demon has not reached the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm, it is probably at the peak of the 2nd level of the fulfillment realm. If I eat this wood spirit, I might be able to grow into an emperor mushroom. This General Su looked at the tree demon in front of him with shining eyes. In the Great Fungi Empire, emperor mushrooms had the highest status. There might not even be one emperor mushroom in 100 General Su. My lord, I'm afraid we are not its match. A Captain Su said timidly. Captain Fungus was a human at the 1st level of the fulfillment realm. 10 Captain Fungus added together was an extremely powerful force. However, they did not have true energy and could only fight with the special weapons in their hands. The tree demon had countless branches, so at the same level, the tree demon was stronger than the mushroom men. However, the tree demon also had a fatal flaw, and that was that it could not move. Once it was exposed, it would only be the fate of being surrounded. Humph, you are my soldiers. How can you be so cowardly? As long as I become an emperor mushroom, you will naturally rise as well. This tree demon has already been exposed, and it might have already started to rescue us. If we are any slower, we will not have a chance. General Su said very unhappily. Indeed, as long as they could raise Su to an emperor mushroom, then these 10 Captain Su would become very powerful in the future. They thought for a moment and finally nodded resolutely. All right, my lord, we will fight. Very good. When the time comes, we will attack according to the training. We must quickly cut off all of its branches. General Su nodded in satisfaction. They reorganized themselves for a moment before they quickly rushed over. This team of mushroom men did not split up and rushed over while facing the tree demon's attacks. Chapter 1243. Hiss! 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 The twin blades in Jiangsu's hands were extremely sharp, and he cut through the tree branches like he was cutting vegetables. In the blink of an eye, he had already covered half the distance. Despicable mushroom people! You've betrayed the will of nature. Dang! The tree demon spoke in the human language and began to use all of its branches to attack. Shut up, we're the true masters of this forest. Jiangsu roared angrily. He suddenly opened his mouth wide and spat out a mouthful of purple poison at the tree demon. Hiss hiss! This mouthful of purple poison landed on the tree demon's trunk. The tree bark instantly melted away, and a hole appeared in the tree. Moreover, it was rapidly expanding. Despicable mushrooms, I'm going to use your corpses as fertilizer. The tree demon was furious. In truth, that mouthful of purple poison was Jiangsu's blood. However, their blood was extremely harmful to the tree demon. This tree demon was indeed not at the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm, but it was at the peak of the 2nd level. Facing these 11 mushroom people from the Great Mushroom Empire, the tree demon was already prepared to go on a killing spree. Fortunately, every tree demon had some extremely tough branches that could repair themselves very quickly. Otherwise, the 11 mushroom people would probably have already approached this tree demon. At this time, what both sides did not know was that there was another danger around them. If I throw all 10 mushroom leaders, 1 Jiangsu, and 1 tree demon into the planting space, it can fertilize the soil and increase the production of those natural treasures. Yi Xian thought to himself. The planting space was his back garden. He had planted many natural treasures in it. There were natural treasures ripening at all times and then being devoured by him. Simply put, the planting space was a place for him to hack. It could constantly increase his experience points. Although it was slow, as long as the planting space's level increased, then the production of natural treasures would also increase. Yi Xian liked this feeling of bountiful harvest very much. Waiting for them to fight each other isn't a bad idea, but now that I've fused with the god of slaughter bloodline, killing people, killing monsters, and even devouring weapons can increase my killing intent. Yi Xian thought for a moment, then finally decided to go out. In an instant, he was split into 2. The twin dragons of ice and fire sword formation required a large amount of true qi to activate, but Yi Xian had the bloodline of the divine tree of life in his body, so he could completely recover. Therefore, this move had become a common skill for him. Fusion of ice and fire. Twin dragon roar. Yi Xian was in the distance. He ordered his ice dragon and flame dragon to spit out 2 mouthfuls of dragon breath. The 2 dragon breaths merged into one and blasted towards the commander mushroom. Tree demons were actually the most difficult to deal with, but they could not move, so Yi Xian decided to leave them for last. As long as this Jiangsu was dealt with, the rest would be simple. The tree demon was just a target. What? Jiangsu, who was dodging the tree branch attacks, suddenly felt an extremely strong pressure. When he turned his head to look, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Sneak attack. Boom. Jiangsu couldn't dodge in time and was hit head-on. Gotcha. Fortunately, he was wearing an armor specially made from the bones of the heaven-reaching beast, so he managed to survive. However, he was also blasted to the point where he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Who is it?
The other mushroom team leaders hurriedly turned their heads to look when they saw their leader being blasted away. At this moment, Yi Xian also just happened to dash out from inside.
Dual dragon roar of ice and fire.
Boom! A sound wave attack rapidly spread out. The 10 mushroom team leaders were directly blasted away, their armor shattering. As they flew out, a white figure suddenly dashed out from the side. This white figure was extremely fast. Every time it flitted past a mushroom team leader, it could cut off their mushroom cap. In the blink of an eye, this nimble white figure killed all 10 mushroom team leaders. And this white figure was Luo, who had used Fox Flash.
Young master, it's done.
When the 10th mushroom team leader died, Luo also directly reported, then threw the items to Yi Xian. These mushroom team leaders' bags contained wood spirits and the universe rings of the humans they killed. However, because they didn't have true qi, they couldn't use the universe rings. They could only bring them back and let the human captives help pour out the items. Now, all of them had benefited Yi Xian. Yi Xian took these bags and poured them all into the devouring space or the planting space. His cultivation base had improved a little more.
Xianxia, it's your turn now.
Yi Xian's eyes widened. He turned into 2 heavenly dragons and attacked the heavily injured Xianxia.
Not good, run.
Xianxia's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly turned around. Although Yi Xian was only at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm, he was much stronger than this tree demon. Against Yi Xian, Xianxia had no doubt. However, just as he was turning around, a golden light suddenly appeared and collided head-on with Jianghu's stomach.
Bang!
With a muffled sound, Xianxia exploded. Purple blood sprayed everywhere.
What?
Yi Xian was shocked. He hurriedly avoided the poisonous purple blood and looked in front of him. This damned thing that appeared out of nowhere killed the 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm General Xian in one hit. What was this?
He immediately focused his eyes and found that it was a tiger with golden fur.
Its golden eyes made Yi Xian's hair stand on end. A 3rd level Fulfillment Realm heaven-reaching beast, the golden-eyed Tiger King? Yi Xian immediately reacted. Only a 3rd level Fulfillment Realm beast could kill a 2nd level Fulfillment Realm General Xian.
Roar!
This golden-eyed Tiger King also stopped after insta-killing Zhu Ji. The intelligence of heaven-reaching beasts was not lower than that of humans. This golden-eyed Tiger King didn't attack because it was sizing up Yi Xian. On the tree demon side, there were also heaven-reaching beasts and strange beasts besides the tree demons. They were on the same side, so the tree demons didn't continue to attack.
You're dead, human.
This tree demon said with a bit of schadenfreude.
Shut up, you old piece of wood.
Yi Xian let out a low shout. A mere plant dared to mock him. It really didn't know what was good for it. If he encountered a 3rd level Fulfillment Realm Elder of the Green Sun Sword sect right now, Yi Xian might be wary, but this golden-eyed Tiger King was only at the 3rd level of the Fulfillment Realm. He wasn't afraid of heaven-reaching beasts.
Roar!
At this time, the golden-eyed Tiger King let out another roar.
Young master, it's asking about your origins.
Luo suddenly said.
What?
This sentence stunned Yi Xian. This golden-eyed Tiger King was asking about his origins. Shouldn't it start a fight? Chapter 1244.
Big Tiger, what do you want?
Yi Xian couldn't help but ask.
Roar!
The golden-eyed Tiger King roared again. It says it wants to cooperate with humans. Luo said in disbelief. Cooperation. Yi Xian was very surprised. What kind of cooperation? Why me? Because I'm a member of the Fox clan. Also, because you're so strong, young master. You should be a super genius of a human sect. You have the right to speak.
Luo continued to translate.
A super genius of the Fox clan? Yi Xian frowned. The golden-eyed Tiger King had seen him with Luo. Luo belonged to the Beast clan, which was between a human and a beast. Therefore, compared to a human, the Skirich beast would trust Luo more. However, the golden-eyed Tiger King hadn't said what it wanted to cooperate with. Just as Yi Xian was about to ask, a figure suddenly descended from the sky. It was a large bird with snow-white feathers. On its head was a mini green figure. Yi Xian focused his eyes and found that the green figure was only the size of a fist. Apart from the small wings on its back, it was completely a miniature human. This little person looked like a girl. She looked very obedient and cute. What's that? Yi Xian's brain didn't react. Hello, human.
A light voice fell into Yi Xian's ears.
Are you the one talking?
Yi Xian looked at the little thing and said in shock.
Yes, it's me. Let me introduce myself. I'm Hualien, the leader of the Tree Demon Alliance in the Wood Spirit Primitive World. The little girl answered. Yi Xian didn't react until now.
The leader of the Tree Demon Alliance was a fairy, which was the little thing called Hualien in front of him. What surprised Yi Xian was why the leader of the Tree Demon Alliance was here.
My name is Yi Xian.
Since the other party had introduced herself, Yi Xian also wanted to know.
Human, I'm here this time because I want to cooperate with you.
Hualien went straight to the point.
Just say it. What kind of cooperation?
Yi Xian asked directly. I don't know if you know, but in the primitive world of the Wood Spirit, there is the Great Fungus Empire and the Tree Demon Alliance. We have been enemies for hundreds of years.
Hualien began. However, in recent years, the Great Fungi Empire has been developing rapidly. Our Tree Demon Alliance is a bit lacking. In a few more decades, we'll probably be wiped out by the Great Fungi Empire. Therefore, I wish to seek your cooperation and destroy the Great Bacterial Empire together. After hearing this, Yi Xian raised an eyebrow and said, Destroy the Great Bacterial Empire? Ding. Host has triggered a random mission. Exterminate the Great Bacteria Empire. Reward. Unlocking the God Slayer Bloodline Dark Knight Canopy skill. This notification sound suddenly rang out. The duration of the mission was 7 days. There was no punishment for the mission, so Yi Xian accepted it without hesitation. The Murderous God Bloodline's Dark Knight Canopy skill required 1 Devour point to activate. After using Dark Knight Canopy, the surroundings would be plunged into darkness. This skill was very useful when paired with the Assassination mode and the Eye of Revelation. The enemy was out in the open while Yi Xian was in the dark. This would greatly increase the success rate of Yi Xian's assassination. That's right. Hualien nodded and said, Just now when I was patrolling the territory, I happened to see you killing Captain Su and Jianghu. I remember that humans have a saying that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Therefore, I wish to have a chat with the upper echelons of your human race. You think that my aptitude is not bad and that I come from a large sect?
Yi Xian immediately understood and asked again.
That's right. Hualien responded, As long as we work together to destroy the Great Bacterial Empire, I can take out a large amount of wood essence as a reward, and even all the corpses. Wood essence was very valuable, and so were the corpses of the mushroom people. Under normal circumstances, no one would refuse.
Even the Green Sun Sword sect and the Flying Scorpion Stronghold probably did not have the courage to refuse, because the Great Bacterial Empire was a huge fortune.
But after we humans came in, we also killed many tree demons. We are also considered your enemies.
Yi Xian asked again.
No, you shouldn't be. Hualien shook her head and carefully sized up Yi Xian, saying, Your body exudes an affinity. You are different from other humans. Affinity. Hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but be stunned for a moment. He immediately remembered that he had the bloodline of the divine tree of life in his body. It seemed that Hualien had appeared because of this bloodline. I see, I understand. Yi Xian nodded slightly. After thinking for a moment, he decided to tell the truth. Sorry, I don't belong to any sect. I'm afraid I can't help you. You don't belong to any sect? This time, it was Hualien's turn to be shocked. Not belonging to any sect? That was impossible. Hualien felt that Yi Xian was not very old, and he even had the ability to challenge people 2 levels above him. Could this strength have been cultivated by himself? While the other was surprised, Yi Xian suddenly said, However, I do have the ability to challenge people above my level. You can tell me about the Great Fungus Empire's strength. In the Great Fungus Empire, the fungus soldiers are comparable to humans at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. The fungus captain is at the 1st level of the Fulfillment realm, and the general fungus is at the 2nd level of the Fulfillment realm. Also, there is the 3rd level of the Fulfillment realm Emperor Fungus, and the 4th level of the Fulfillment realm Emperor Fungus, Hualien answered casually. There is something called the Emperor Fungus above the Emperor Fungus? Yi Xian was a little shocked. That was an enemy at the 4th level of the Fulfillment realm. The mushroom men were stronger than heaven-reaching beasts at the same level. It was a little difficult for Yi Xian to face a 4th level Fulfillment realm Emperor Fungus. However, if he broke through to the Fulfillment realm,
opened his natal palaces, and condensed his natal true energy. What was the Great Fungus Empire?
You haven't even reached the fulfillment realm. Even if you can challenge people above your level, it is useless. Leave, and do not step into the territory of the Tree Demon Alliance.
Hualien said a little disappointedly.
Wait.
Seeing that Hualien was about to leave, Yixian hurriedly shouted, "That is not necessarily true. As long as I am given enough cultivation resources, I can break through to the fulfillment realm in a short time. There are not many things in the territory of the Tree Demon Alliance. Also, the secret realm entrance will only last for 10 days. Hualien said. Although she did not say it explicitly, Yixian knew that Hualien thought that he could not break through and help her destroy the Great Fungus Empire.
Wait.
Yixian suddenly called out to Hualien and said, "Do you not believe in my strength?
Even if you can challenge people 2 levels above you, you can only kill the General Fungus at most. Above the General Fungus are the Emperor Fungus and the Emperor Fungus with the title of King. They can easily kill you."
Hualien sighed and said, "You should leave."
Chapter 1245. Are you sure?
Little Gold is a 3rd-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beast.
It can probably smash you to pieces with just 1 hit, Hualien said in surprise.
Haha, then let's see if it can smash me to pieces, or if I can skin it and make clothes out of it.
Yixian suddenly showed a confidence he had never shown before.
So what if it was a 3rd-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beast?
Roar!
The golden-eyed Tiger King roared in dissatisfaction when it heard Yixian's words. It was a capable member of the Tree Demon Alliance, and now it was being looked down upon by a brat who hadn't even reached the fulfillment realm.
It couldn't stand it.
All right, since you asked for it, then come.
Hualien nodded her little head and stood on the snow-white bird to watch.
One was a 9th-level Nether Passage realm human, and the other was a 3rd-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beast. There was a difference of 3 realms. Although heaven-reaching beasts relied on their physique to fight and were weaker than humans of the same level who could use divine arts, the golden-eyed Tiger King could probably defeat a human 3 realms lower than it with a single swipe of its paw.
Big golden bug, do it!
Yixian's true body and avatar held the scarlet flame sword and the blue ice sword respectively as they stared at the golden-eyed Tiger King.
Big bug! The golden-eyed Tiger King was furious when it heard this.
The great golden-eyed Tiger King was being looked down upon by a human.
It couldn't tolerate this. It definitely couldn't.
Roar! The golden-eyed Tiger King roared loudly as its 2 powerful hind legs kicked off the ground. Its huge body turned into a ray of light and charged toward Yixian.
Big Tiger, you rely on your speed to survive.
Since that's the case, then let's try this move. Yixian's eyes flashed as he transformed into 2 golden-armored war gods.
Fusion of ice and fire.
Dual dragon roar of ice and fire.
Boom!
An extremely powerful shockwave swept out. The golden-eyed Tiger King who was about to smash Yixian to death was shocked and couldn't stop in time.
It was sent flying by the shockwave.
Humans were powerful because they could use weapons, true energy, and divine abilities. The ice and fire twin dragon sword formation was learned from the reincarnators Nalan Bing and Nalan Jia. Using it to deal with a heaven-reaching beast was overkill. Seeing the golden-eyed Tiger King suffer a loss, the leader of the Tree Demon Alliance, Hualien, was also a little surprised. She directly laid on the head of the snow-white bird, using 2 slender hands to support her chin, and watched with interest.
Big Tiger, try this again.
Taking advantage of the golden-eyed Tiger King being sent flying, Yixian shouted at Yihang.
Twin Dragon Roar.
Hoo hoo hoo.
The twin dragon's breath swept out. If this was a real battle, Yixian would have used Killing Intent Explosion. But this time, he didn't really want to kill the golden-eyed Tiger King.
Hualien had evolved from a wood spirit and had no fighting power at all. However, Yixian estimated that the snow-white bird beneath her was on the same level as King Shroom. In other words, it was at the 4th level of the fulfillment realm. Moreover, there might be other 4th-level fulfillment realm cultivators nearby. Therefore, if Yixian accidentally killed the golden-eyed Tiger King, he would be in serious trouble. Fortunately, the golden-eyed Tiger King wasn't too weak. When the twin dragon roar was about to hit its body, it suddenly grew a pair of golden wings and deftly dodged the attack. Holy shit, it has a pair of wings!
Yixian was shocked.
This golden-eyed Tiger King had probably mutated before. Otherwise, why would it become a winged tiger? However,
The golden-eyed Tiger King with golden wings was even faster. This is a little tricky, but I don't believe that I can't wear you down. Yi Xian's confidence was still off the charts. A third-level fulfillment realm human expert wouldn't be able to do anything to the golden-eyed Tiger King in a short time. They might even be killed by the golden-eyed Tiger King. But who was Yi Xian? Fusion of ice and fire. Twin dragon roar of ice and fire. Yi Xian looked at the golden-eyed Tiger King charging at him and used his ultimate move again. Boom! Another sound wave attack spread and sent the golden-eyed Tiger King flying again. Fortunately, the golden-eyed Tiger King was a heaven-reaching beast and relied on its physique to survive. That was why it was able to survive the two twin dragon roars of ice and fire without taking any damage. Of course, this was also because Yi Xian hadn't used his killing intent. Come on, big tiger. The two Yi Xian suddenly smiled provocatively at the golden-eyed Tiger King. He couldn't catch up to the golden-eyed Tiger King with his speed, but the golden-eyed Tiger King couldn't get close to him either. Yi Xian had the bloodline of the divine tree of life, so he could recover. He just needed to do this a few more times. Even if the golden-eyed Tiger King was a third-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beast, he didn't believe that it wouldn't get a concussion. Roar! The golden-eyed Tiger King didn't back down. He turned into a bolt of lightning and shot toward Yi Xian again. This time, he was going to smash Yi Xian into pieces. However, Yi Xian didn't want to play anymore. His time was very precious. Merge! When the golden-eyed Tiger King rushed toward him, Yi Xian's true body and avatar suddenly merged into one. His aura instantly increased by 50%. Come on, big tiger. Let's see what you can do to me. Yi Xian looked at the golden-eyed Tiger King with a dark expression. Huo Yan was very surprised to see that Yi Xian had no intention of dodging. One had to know that the golden-eyed Tiger King had a hobby of bumping into people. Yi Xian was only at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. If he was hit by the golden-eyed Tiger King even once, his body would probably explode. However, Huo Yan didn't say anything when she saw Yi Xian's confident expression. Roar! The golden-eyed Tiger King roared and ran headlong into Yi Xian's arms. Crack! Crisp sounds rang out. Yi Xian's bones and innards were instantly blasted apart. Not only that, even his back was cut open. Blood and flesh flew everywhere. A normal person's heart would probably stop after receiving such a heavy blow. However, even if Yi Xian's heart was crushed to pieces, he wouldn't die. Big tiger, I've won this battle. Yi Xian's eyes flashed the moment he was sent flying. The Eye of Nirvana. Whoosh! A cold light flashed. The golden-eyed Tiger King was also sent flying. The Eye of Nirvana was one of Yi Xian's killing moves. It was very sinister. Yi Xian felt that he hadn't used it in a long time, so he tried it out. Looking at the effect, it was pretty good. Huo Yan, who was on the back of the snow-white bird, suddenly widened her eyes. He's dead. The golden-eyed Tiger King's attack was no small matter. Even the tree demon behind it would probably have a big hole in it. Yi Xian had the body of a mere human. If he didn't die, then it would be too outrageous. However, Yi Xian didn't die. Tap tap. Yi Xian, who was sent flying, quickly used his true chi and 10,000 mammoth strength to stabilize himself. Chapter 1246. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xian's back was completely healed.
If it wasn't for his torn clothes and blood, it was as if he hadn't been injured at all.
The golden-eyed Tiger King's fur was also very tough. It wasn't damaged by the Eye of Nirvana. Of course, if Yi Xian's killing intent had exploded just now, the golden-eyed Tiger King would have at least lost a large chunk of its flesh. Roar! The golden-eyed Tiger King stabilized itself and roared in disbelief when it saw that Yi Xian was fine. Tescaise, you can't kill me. Yi Xian's lips curled slightly. The Eye of Eternity had always been his secret. How did this golden-eyed Tiger King know that his weak points were his eyes? Roar! The golden-eyed Tiger King didn't believe it.
It gathered its courage and prepared to attack again. But at this time, Huo Yan suddenly said, "Little Gold, stop."
The golden-eyed Tiger King stopped. Although Huo Yan was just a fairy and didn't have any combat strength, the golden-eyed Tiger King didn't dare to disobey her. Yi Xian, you are very strong. Even Little Gold can't do anything to you.
I estimate that you are strong enough to fight against the monarch fungi.
Huo Yan praised.
Now do you believe that if I break through to the fulfillment realm, open my natal palaces, and condense my lifeblood true energy, I will have the strength to destroy the great fungi empire?
Yi Xian asked.
Hualien paused and said, if you break through, you do have the strength to do so. However, the great fungi empire has more than one monarch fungi. Also, according to legend, they have a monarch fungi.
Monarch fungi? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow when he heard this name.
He calculated in his mind. Fungi soldier, captain fungi, general fungi, monarch fungi, monarch fungi, monarch fungi. Monarch fungi were equivalent to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm, and the 1st to 4th level of the Fulfillment realm. Then, wouldn't the monarch fungi, which was one level higher than monarch fungi, be at the 5th level of the Fulfillment realm?
Then, does your Tree Demon Alliance not have anyone in this realm?
Yi Xian asked again.
No.
Hualien shook her head and said, in our Tree Demon Alliance, only Little White and a few others are at the 4th level of the Fulfillment realm.
In fact, in terms of strength, our Tree Demon Alliance is slightly superior, but we have a fatal flaw.
Yi Xian immediately reacted and said, fatal damage?
Are you talking about the immobile Tree Ant?
That's right. They can't move, but the warriors of the Great Mushroom Empire can. That's why we have a large number of flying beasts patrolling the area every day and night. Because the growth cycle of the Tree Ants is too long, every time one dies, our Tree Ant Alliance will be destroyed even faster. Hualien nodded and said, I estimate that if this continues, we will be annihilated by the Great Bacteria Empire in a month's time. Now that the entrance to the secret territory has appeared, why aren't you leaving?
Yi Xian asked.
We've lived here for hundreds of years. Naturally, we don't want to leave. Most importantly, we can't let go of our anger. If the Great Bacterial Empire is not destroyed, even if this forest withers, we will not leave. Hualien suddenly revealed an indignant expression.
I do have a good idea, Yi Xian said.
What?
Hualien asked subconsciously.
Forget it. Let's not talk about this for now. If the Great Bacterial Empire is not destroyed, you won't leave either. Yi Xian shook his head and felt that it was better to forget about it for now. He originally wanted to invite Hualien into the planting space. This way the production of the natural treasures would increase by a lot. After all, flower spirits were evolved from wood spirits. They were much more powerful than wood spirit kings. Your strength has been acknowledged by us, but you are only at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm right now. There aren't many things in the Tree Ant Alliance that you humans can use. Hualien reminded him again. That's impossible. This is such a big forest, and there's so much natural energy. How can there not be any? Yi Xian found it hard to believe. His request was very simple. He wanted Hualien to break through to the Fulfillment realm. Then he could help the Tree Ant Alliance destroy the Great Bacteria Empire. However, if he couldn't break through to the Fulfillment realm, he would have to do it himself. There is, but I've used it to nurture Little White, Little Gold, and the others. The most I have is wood spirits, and I snatched them from the mushroom people of the Great Bacteria Empire, Hualien replied. I see. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. After thinking for a moment he said, if that's the case, then I want those wood spirits. However, I want a lot of them. No problem. After Hualien flew a circle in the air, she immediately agreed. The primitive world of wood spirits had been formed for hundreds of years. Countless tree spirits had died at the hands of the Great Bacteria Empire's mushroom people. At the same time, many mushroom people were killed by the Skirich beasts and tree spirits. This way, the wood spirits returned to the hands of the Tree Ant Alliance. These wood spirits were of little use to the Skirich beasts and even the tree spirits, so they could have as many as they wanted. Let's go, Hualien said, then turned around and left on her snow-white bird. The golden-eyed Tiger King Little Gold immediately followed. Luoluo, let's follow. Yi Xian followed closely behind. This time, he might be able to directly upgrade the planting space to the 3rd level. This way Luoluo might be able to break through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm first, or even the Fulfillment realm. At that time, the success rate of destroying the Great Bacteria Empire would be greatly increased. With Hualien and the others leading the way, Yi Xian's following journey was very smooth. Half a day later, they entered the depths of the Tree Ant Alliance and arrived at their headquarters. At this time, there was a huge Skirich treasure tree in front of Yi Xian. It was twice as big as the one in the planting space. Under this Skirich treasure tree, There were large numbers of scary beasts and strange beasts. Their auras were all very strong. Dozens of third-level fulfillment realm beasts, and a few fourth-level nether passage realm beasts. Yi Xian did a rough calculation. Apart from the snow-white bird under Hualien, there were a few fourth-level nether passage realm beasts. In other words, they were on the same level as the king of the Great Bacteria Empire, Monarch Mushroom. Roar! The group of Skirich beasts couldn't help but roar when they saw Hualien return. With Luo as the interpreter, Yi Xian understood their words. They were asking why they had brought a human back. From now on, this human is our ally. Hualien flew directly to the center of the group of Skirich beasts and said in a light voice. Although his realm isn't high, he was able to fight Little Gold to a draw. If he can break through again, he will be a great help. Hearing this, the surrounding Skirich beasts were very shocked. A mere 9th-level Nether Passage Realm beast could fight the 3rd-level Fulfillment Realm Golden-Eyed Tiger King to a draw? What kind of racial joke was this? Chapter 1247. Little White can testify as well. In order to convince the remaining heaven-reaching beasts, Hualien reminded them once more. Little White was the snowy white bird beneath Hualien. It was a snow-wind demon spirit condor. Although it was still in its infancy, it was one of the few 4th-stage fulfillment Golden Realm cultivators in the Tree Demon Alliance. Beep! The snowy white bird shrieked as it personally testified. Now, all the heaven-reaching beasts were convinced. This human has boundless potential, but our Tree Demon Alliance doesn't have many things that we can use. That's why we can only pay with wood essence. As Hualien spoke, she suddenly turned to a mountain in the distance and said, "Little mountain, take out 1/5 of your wood essence." Rumble. Hearing this, the mountain suddenly shook violently. Then, the little mountain transformed into a giant. This was a mountain giant, a 4th-stage fulfillment realm cultivator in the Tree Demon Alliance. At the same time, it was also the Tree Demon Alliance's treasure trove. Soon, the mountain giant spat out a large amount of wood essence from its stomach, which piled up into a mountain. From the beginning, Yi Xian knew that the mountain in front of him was no ordinary mountain, but a heaven-reaching beast. This was because his eye of revelation couldn't see through this mountain. He didn't expect that the mountain giant's stomach would contain such a large amount of wood essence. 1/5 of wood essence? How much was that? After the mountain giant finished spitting out the wood essence, Yi Xian's Adam's apple bobbed up and down. There were at least 10,000 pieces of wood essence piled up. This meant that there were 30 to 40,000 pieces of wood essence in the mountain giant's body. Yi Xian, this is your down payment. If you can destroy the Great Bacterial Empire, I'll give you the rest. Hualien flew to Yi Xian's shoulder and said, "Deal." Yi Xian immediately agreed. These wood essences were enough to upgrade the planting space to the 3rd level. He immediately went over and collected all the wood essences. Then, he threw them all into the planting space and located them at the Tree Demon Alliance's headquarters. As long as the heaven-reaching treasure tree absorbed all the wood essences and released the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth, it would probably upgrade the planting space to the 3rd level. You're still at the 9th stage of the Nether Passage Realm. Can you break through to the Fulfillment Realm in half a month? Hualien asked. As far as I know, there are 2 forces that have entered the primitive world of the Wood Spirit. One is called the Flying Scorpion Stockade, and the other is called the Qingyang Sword Sect. If I were to deal with them, it would be enough. Yi Xian answered honestly. I also came into contact with these 2 forces, but they refused to cooperate, so I killed them all. In addition, I had the Treants set up a mystifying mirage formation to guide these humans to the Great Fungi Empire. If you want to find them, you'll probably have to go to the Great Fungi Empire. As Hualien spoke, she also found a few interspatial rings on the snow-white bird and threw them to Yi Xian. Using a maze formation to guide them to the Great Bacterial Empire? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and took the interspatial ring. Unfortunately, there were very few things in these interspatial rings. They were like a drop in the bucket. However, if he were to rob all the people from the Flying Scorpion Stronghold and the Green Sun Sword Sect, it would probably be enough. Moreover, it seemed that the Qingyang Sword Sect would send a follow-up team into the primitive world of the Wood Spirit. If that's the case, then give me a map. Yi Xian said. I don't have a map. Let Little Gold send you there. Hualien shook her head. That works too. Yi Xian didn't refuse. Although very unwilling, the golden-eyed Tiger King didn't disobey the order and led the way into the forest. Yi Xian followed closely behind and left. Huo Yan fell into deep thought as she watched his back. Beep. The snow wind demon spirit condor suddenly let out a low cry.
You're asking why I trust this human so much?
Huo Yan paused and answered, our first and second lines of defense have been defeated by the great fungi empire after years of wear and tear.
The third line of defense is also about to collapse.
If no one helps, I estimate that we'll be annihilated in another month.
Most importantly, I feel that this human is very unusual. To put it simply, Huo Yan chose to trust Yi Xian based on her intuition.
At this time, Yi Xian was already following the golden-eyed Tiger King towards the maze formation. During the journey, Yi Xian also saw some soldiers from the great fungi empire. Of course, these mushroom men were all dealt with by him and their corpses were all thrown into the planting space. After about 2 seconds, Yi Xian finally arrived in front of the maze formation.
Roar!
The golden-eyed Tiger King roared. With Luoluo's translation, Yi Xian understood what he meant.
You go on your own.
If I want to, I can easily leave this maze formation.
Yi Xian replied.
The golden-eyed Tiger King had just asked if he wanted to continue bringing him along. However, Yi Xian had the Eye of Revelation and the Eye of Perception, so he wouldn't get lost in there. Even if he accidentally fell into a trap, he had the Eye of the Void and could directly return to the Tree Demon Alliance headquarters.
Roar!
The golden-eyed Tiger King roared in dissatisfaction, then turned around and left.
As for Yi Xian, he also stepped into the lost forest. A maze? It was a piece of cake for him.
Even if I don't have the Eye of Heaven, I still have the death warrant. With this precise location, I can't get lost.
Yi Xian thought to himself.
The target of the death warrant, Nalan Bing, was unknown how far away she was from here, so even if she moved, Yi Xian didn't see much of a deviation. However, Yi Xian was now going through the lost forest to reach the great fungi empire's territory. There are signs of human activity. Not long after Yi Xian entered the lost forest, he found a set of footprints that had been left recently, about half an hour ago.
Yi Xian immediately chased after them.
The lost forest was actually a place made up of a large number of tree demons. After that, they would constantly move, causing people to get lost. As long as these tree demons didn't reveal themselves, no one would be able to discover them. Yi Xian did indeed encounter many tree demons along the way because he had the Eye of Revelation. However, he was now in an alliance with the Tree Demon Alliance, so he had to be merciful. Moreover, the 10,000 pieces of wood essence in the planting space hadn't been used up yet.
It would probably take another half a day. After half a day, the planting space would be upgraded to level 3. At that time, he would be able to let the Skirich beasts into the planting space.
Yi Xian could actually stay at the Tree Demon Alliance headquarters for half a day, then load a large number of Skirich beasts into the planting space and directly attack the Great Fungi Empire. However, he didn't want to waste this half a day. Without the tree demons blocking his path, Yi Xian quickly caught up to the group of humans in front of him. According to the footprints, there were 5 people. He didn't know whether they were from the Flying Scorpion Stronghold or the Green Sun Sword Sect. At the same time, he also felt that the 5 people in front of him were all experts at the first level of the Fulfillment Realm.
Chapter 1248.
Big Brother, we've been walking for more than an hour and we still haven't gotten out.
Why don't we use violence? Looks like that's the only way. However, we can't use up too much of our true chi. Otherwise, we'll be in danger if we run into enemies.
Suddenly, there was a loud rumble in front of them. Since they couldn't get out of the lost forest, they started attacking the surrounding trees in an attempt to blast their way out. However, at this moment, Yi Xian suddenly charged out of the forest.
Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array.
Ice and Fire Blend.
Twin Dragon Roar. Yi Xian launched a sneak attack.
Moreover, it was an attack that was infused with killing intent.
What?
The 5 of them were shocked and quickly dodged. Unfortunately, there were still 2 people who couldn't dodge in time and were instantly killed. The reason why Yi Xian directly attacked was because 3 of the 5 people actually used sabers as weapons. Moreover, judging from their walking posture, Yi Xian guessed that they were from the Flying Scorpion Stronghold. The Flying Scorpion Stronghold was full of ruthless bandits. Naturally, there was no need to show mercy. 3rd brother. 4th brother. The bald leader's eyes widened because he saw two of his brothers die with his own eyes. Immediately, he glared at Yi Xian and charged toward Yi Xian. If we were closer, we could have killed at least 3 of them. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and immediately charged forward. The killing intent gained from the twin dragon roar was more than the killing intent consumed. However, every time he used up a bit of killing intent, he would save as much as he could. In the blink of an eye, the 3 experts from the Flying Scorpion stronghold were fighting with Yi Xian. The 3 of them had very few opponents at the same level as them. Unfortunately, their opponent was Yi Xian. Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Array. Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Roar. Boom. After Yi Xian approached, he immediately used his ultimate move. A powerful sound wave attack blasted the 3 of them, causing them to vomit blood. Whether it was the Twin Dragon Roar of Ice and Fire or the Twin Dragon Roar, both consumed a shocking amount of true energy. Fortunately, Yi Xian had the bloodline of the Divine Tree of Life, so he could keep up with the consumption rate. In order to end this as soon as possible, Yi Xian decided to use Double Dragon Roar again. Your Excellency, please spare me. I have a secret, the bald man in the lead suddenly shouted. Secret. Hearing this, Yi Xian raised an eyebrow, seemingly interested. Seeing Yi Xian suddenly stop, the bald man's eyes flickered and he said, The secret is, K your mother. Before he could finish his words, a beam of light flashed past and cut off his head. Humph! How dare you disrespect the young master's family? You're courting death. Luo snorted softly. She took off the bald man's universe ring and threw it to Yi Xian. Run! The other 2 knew that they were no match for him, so they immediately turned around. Unfortunately, he still couldn't escape death. 2 seconds later, the 2 were taken care of by Yi Xian and Luo. The battle had only lasted for 5 seconds, but Yi Xian had already taken care of 5 martial practitioners at the first level of the Fulfillment Realm. This strength was explosive. When I was at the 9th level of the Nether Passage Realm, I could easily kill 5 martial practitioners at the 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm, and even fight against 3rd level Fulfillment Realm heaven-reaching beasts. If I can break through to the Fulfillment Realm, open my natal palaces, and condense my lifeblood true energy, I probably won't have a problem fighting against Monarch Shroom. Yi Xian's confidence suddenly exploded. Monarch Shroom was at the 4th level of the Fulfillment Realm, and it was said that she was even stronger than 4th level heaven-reaching beasts. However, what Yi Xian wanted the most right now was to kill his way into the Great Mushroom Empire and use Swordstorm. Killing intent exploded. Feast of Slaughter. Swordstorm. If these 3 moves were used together, they would definitely be as strong as the heavens. There were some cultivation resources and prosperity pills in these 5 people's universe rings. Yi Xian directly gave them to Luo and kept some prosperity pills as backup. This was because he predicted that he might need the prosperity pills when he reached the peak of the Nether Passage Realm. Young master, give me half a day more, and I will be able to break through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage Realm. Luo returned to the planting space and said to Yi Xian. Very good. Yi Xian nodded in satisfaction. There was a precious land in the planting space that was occupied by Luo. It was very close to the heavenly treasure tree, and there was a spirit gathering formation set up to gather the world's origin energy. The world's origin energy was gathered and then absorbed by Luo's body. Luo's cultivation speed was at least 100 times faster than normal people, and with the help of natural treasures, a day's worth of cultivation was equivalent to a year's worth of other people. Of course, this was also due to the wood essence. In just a few hours, the world's origin energy in the planting space had doubled. If all the wood essence was absorbed by the heavenly treasure tree, Yi Xian estimated that it would be at least 3 times as much as before. Let's continue on our way. It'll be best if I can break through to the Fulfillment Realm in 1 day. That way, I can fight my way to the Great Fungi Empire alone. When he thought of this, Yi Xian's figure flashed and he left the place. The primitive world of wood essence had appeared for some time, at least 5 days. The Flying Scorpion stronghold had sent many people to explore, but almost all of them were trapped in the Lost Forest without exception. This was, of course, Hualian's doing. Hualian's plan was to have these people wear down the mushroom men of the Great Fungi Empire and weaken the empire. Now, these people were all Yi Xian's targets. Yi Xian wanted to use the cultivation resources in their rings to break through to the Fulfillment Realm. Found it again. They passed by about 10 minutes ago. There are 3 of them.
Yi Xian's eyes lit up, and he immediately rushed over. Soon, he encountered 3 more people, and they were all experts of the Flying Scorpion stronghold. After a period of recovery, his true energy had returned to peak condition. He immediately crept closer and unleashed a powerful attack. Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Formation. Twin Dragon Roar. After a few seconds, the battle ended. The 3 experts of the Flying Scorpion stronghold were all killed by Yi Xian. Continue. Yi Xian swallowed the items and continued on his way. There were many dangers in the primitive world of wood essence, so whether it was the Flying Scorpion stronghold or the Green Sun Sword sect, at least 3 people moved together. Half an hour later, Yi Xian found the 3rd group. However, this was the most troublesome one he had ever encountered, because these 3 were all at the 2nd level of the fulfillment realm. They seemed to be experts of the Green Sun Sword sect. Yi Xian recognized the auras of these 3 people. They were in the Green Sun Sword sect's group. However, this didn't affect his plan. Although the Green Sun Sword sect is righteous, the white-haired elder previously said that if his disciples encountered others in the primitive world of wood essence, they should kill without mercy. When he thought of this, Yi Xian revealed traces of killing intent. Killing and robbing was a matter of course. Kill. Yi Xian didn't say anything and directly charged out. Chapter 1249. Eye of Glory. Killing Intent Explosion. Dual Dragon Roar of Ice and Fire. Yi Xian immediately used his ultimate move. A formless attack blasted towards the 3 of them. What? The 3 Green Sun Sword sect elders trembled and hurriedly used their natal true chi and 10,000 mammoth strength to defend themselves. They were all at the 2nd level of the fulfillment realm and had opened 2 yuan palaces. The strength of their natal true chi was also stronger than those at the 1st level of the fulfillment realm. When the attack landed on their bodies, half of its power was instantly reduced. However, they were still sent flying. Yi Xian never thought that he could kill 3 2nd-level fulfillment realm experts in one hit. After all, the Flying Scorpion stronghold was much stronger than the Northern Heavens Academy. If one were to compare, any one of the 3 of them was stronger than the sect master of the underworld branch in Seizing Heart City. If the 3 of them worked together, they could even fight against a 3rd-level fulfillment realm expert. Killing Intent Explosion. Dual Dragon Roar. Yi Xian once again used his ultimate move and blasted it towards one of them. The Dual Dragon Roar of Ice and Fire was just to separate the 3 of them. If the 3 of them worked together, they could easily destroy his attack. Huff huff huff. The 2 dragon breaths, 1 ice and 1 fire, merged and formed an extremely strong attack. Green Sun Sword Bell. Yi Xian's target's face darkened. He knew that he couldn't avoid this attack. Hence, he circulated all of his true chi and merged it with his 10,000 mammoth strength, forming a giant green bell around his body. Boom! The twin dragon roar slammed into the giant cyan bell, and another sound wave attack spread out, shaking the surrounding trees and breaking them. A defensive divine ability? Yi Xian was slightly surprised and his eyes flickered. Ding! Copy of Green Sun Sword Bell successful. Ding! Green Sun Sword Bell can perfectly merge with the dual dragon roar of Ice and Fire. Do you want to proceed? When the dual dragon roar collided with the Green Sun Sword Bell, a system notification suddenly rang in Yi Xian's mind. This kind of notification sound had appeared in the Thousand Tree Sect's historical remains before. Last time, when Yi Xian was fighting Mo Shui, he copied down Mo Shui's Azure Dragon Claw and merged it with Dragon Catching Hand. The result of the fusion was Wu Qinglong's 8 Forces Stretching Claws. Yes. Yi Xian immediately replied. This perfect martial arts fusion only required the Super Devouring Crystal. If it was an awesome skill, then it would be a huge gain. Ding. Fusion of Powers. Ding. Host has learned the Double Dragon Sword Bell. 2 system notifications sounded. Double Dragon Sword Bell? Could it be the same defensive divine ability as the Azure Yang Sword Bell? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. Most likely, even the Shenming twin fiends did not know this move. He didn't expect the Will Manifestation God Art to be able to fuse perfectly with the Ice and Fire Dual Dragon Sword Array. Come, let me see the defensive capabilities of this Twin Dragon Sword Bell. Yi Xian sneered. Brat, I'll kill you. At this time, the other 3 launched their attacks at the same time. Azure Sun Burst. All 3 of them channeled their natal true chi and launched their strongest attacks at Yi Xian. 3 streaks of azure sword chi shot towards Yi Xian. Double Dragon Sword Bell. Facing the attacks from 3 directions, Yi Xian's eyes flickered. In the next moment, the ice dragon and the flame dragon rose into the air and condensed into a giant golden bell. The ice dragon and the flame dragon coiled around the giant golden bell. If Yi Xian hadn't used the Eye of Glory, the bell probably wouldn't have been golden. However, it didn't matter. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 streaks of azure sword chi all landed on the golden bell. Immediately, another sound wave attack spread out. The 3 second stage fulfillment realm elders of the Azure Yang Sword sect were shocked as they were sent flying by the sound wave attack. What a strong defense, and it even has the effect of the dual dragon roar of ice and fire after being attacked. A divine skill, a divine skill. Yi Xian was overjoyed. He didn't expect to be so lucky this time. He obtained a powerful skill that even the mysterious underworld duo demons didn't know. Haha, I'll kill you while you're down. Yi Xian laughed loudly as he once again fused the 2 flying dragon silhouettes. Double Dragon Roar. The target this time was the same as before. The second stage fulfillment realm elder of the Green Sun Sword sect had used a large amount of his lifeblood true energy to block the twin dragon roar. He had also used his strongest attack, so he didn't have much lifeblood true energy left in his body. He didn't have the strength to block this attack. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, the second stage fulfillment realm elder of the Azure Yang Sword sect was engulfed by the double dragon roar. The power of extreme ice and fire instantly turned his body into ash. Instant kill. What? Elder Shui was instantly killed? The other 2 elders were shocked. Elder Shui's strength was the strongest amongst the 3 of them. Yet he was instantly killed by a 9th level Nether Passage Realm Junior. Who is this kid? How can he be so monstrous? The 2 elders couldn't help but guess. Even the most monstrous genius of the Azure Yang Sword sect could only fight a 1st level fulfillment realm martial practitioner when he was at the 9th level Nether Passage realm. Defeating one was out of the question, let alone insta-killing one. Yi Xian was 10 times more powerful than the number 1 genius of the Azure Yang Sword sect. Kill him and avenge Elder Shui, shouted one of the elders. Then, he charged toward Yi Xian again. Humph, you think you can kill me? Yi Xian sneered. Dual dragon roar of ice and fire. Boom! The 2 elders of the Azure Yang Sword sect were sent flying again. 2nd level fulfillment realm martial practitioners were only at the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm after all. Even if they could fight a 3rd level fulfillment realm martial practitioner when they worked together, many people would choose to fight 3 2nd level fulfillment realm martial practitioners at the same time instead of 1 3rd level fulfillment realm martial practitioner. You've probably used up most of your vital energies. It's time to end this. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. With the Eye of Revelation, he could see that the vital energies in their natal palaces were almost depleted. Of course, he only had a 1/3 of his own vital energy left. However, he had the divine tree of life bloodline, so he didn't need to worry about that. Yi Xian's true body and avatar immediately charged forward. Bang! 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 This time, Yi Xian didn't use any of his ultimate moves. Instead, he used the twin dragons of ice and fire sword formation to fight the remaining 2 elders. Even so, the 2 elders couldn't do anything to Yi Xian. In fact, they were at a disadvantage. As their vital energies continued to deplete, their expressions grew darker and darker. They wanted to run, but Yi Xian held them tightly. They couldn't escape at all. The Azure Yang Sword sect won't let you get away with this. An explosive roar rang out in the Lost Forest. Then, 2 crisp sounds rang out. Rip! Rip! With 2 crisp sounds, the 2 heads fell to the ground and rolled a few times. Chapter 1250. Let me see what you've got. Yi Xian walked over, picked up their universe rings, and inspected them. There were many things in the universe rings, including more than 2,000 prosperity pills and more than 100 wood essences. Yi Xian threw all the wood essences into the planting space. As for the prosperity pills, they were all devoured. Every time he leveled up, he needed a large amount of experience. These 2,000 prosperity pills were just enough for him to reach the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. Ding! The host has reached the shackles of the Nether Passage realm. 1,000 prosperity pills are required to break through. The system notified. As expected, I need prosperity pills to level up. However, my strength has increased a lot. It won't be difficult to get 1,000 prosperity pills. When he thought of this, Yi Xian instantly left his original spot. He was a little impatient to break through. Soon, he passed through the Lost Forest and arrived at the territory of the Great Mushroom Empire.
There are many traces of battle.
Yi Xian sensed for a moment, then chased in a certain direction. He guessed that there was a battle about 10 minutes ago. There were about 3 people fighting here. The ones fighting these 3 people were mushroom people. The footprints of the mushroom people were very special. Moreover, they were the victors. After the 3 mushroom people killed them, they dragged the corpses away. Yi Xian immediately chased in that direction.
He hoped that the 3 mushrooms would kill the 3 human martial practitioners at the 2nd level of the fulfillment realm.
If that was the case, he might be able to break through. The wood spirits couldn't fly in the primitive world, and the mushroom people couldn't fly either. Therefore, Yi Xian could definitely catch up to them if he followed the footprints. He was very fast. 10 minutes later, he sensed the 3 figures.
I've caught up.
Yi Xian's eyes flashed. But in the next moment, his footsteps paused.
The 3 mushroom people he was chasing were indeed mushrooms, but one of them was even taller and stronger than the other 2.
Could this be the Emperor Mushroom Hualien was talking about? Yi Xian exclaimed inwardly. Emperor mushrooms were a level higher than general mushrooms.
They were comparable to a human at the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm. I have the strength to kill the golden-eyed Tiger King, but I heard that emperor mushrooms are stronger than ordinary heaven-reaching beasts. Yi Xian thought to himself. If it was a one-on-one battle, Yi Xian wouldn't be afraid, but there were 2 Jiangshangs around him, so it was tricky. Those 2 Jiangshangs were carrying 3 human corpses. For them to be able to carry them back, their realms must have been quite high when they were alive. If I can get their Qian Kuan rings, I might be able to break through. By then, what about the Emperor Shangs? Yi Xian pondered for a moment and decided to make a move. Even if he couldn't win, he could still run away. Since that was the case, what was there to be afraid of? Go! At that moment, Yi Xian concealed his aura and figure, slipped into the darkness, and stealthily made his way over. The 3 warriors of the Great Bacterial Empire were currently resting. My lord, we've been wandering around here for hours and killed many people. If we can't get out, these corpses will be useless. What's the hurry? It's not like we're going to starve to death. At most, we'll just cut down the entire forest, said the tall Emperor Shangs. He was a full 2 meters tall, and the 2 blades in his hands were stained with blood. Just as he was about to speak, the Emperor Shang suddenly trembled and roared angrily. Who is it? As expected of an Emperor Shangs, they actually found him. Yi Xian, who was hiding in the shadows, was startled. In the next moment, a wave of blade light attacked. Whoosh! Yi Xian quickly dodged. This wave of blade light directly cut the heaven-reaching treasure tree behind him in half. Although the Emperor Shangs didn't know how to use true qi, their physiques were stronger than the heaven-reaching beasts. A casual wave of their blade could produce enough force to kill a heaven-reaching beast at the 1st level of the fulfillment realm. Since he was already exposed, Yi Xian could only walk out himself. Human? Seeing Yi Xian walk out, the Emperor Shangs were very surprised. Of course, he was surprised at Yi Xian's realm. 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. Teske. I didn't expect to meet an Emperor Shangs here. Yi Xian sneered as he walked out. TSK, I thought I met a big prey. So it's just a little brat. The Emperor Shangs was very disdainful. After a pause he said, however, to be able to dodge my blade, you're quite capable. Hee, I'm quite capable. I can even kill you. Do you believe me? Yi Xian looked very calm. If it was any other 9th level Nether Passage realm, they would probably be scared to death when they saw Jiang Shangs. However, Yi Xian was still so calm when he saw the Emperor Shangs. This brat is not simple, the Emperor Shangs said in his heart. However, he had already attacked once, and Yi Xian didn't die from that attack. Hence, he didn't want to attack anymore. You go and kill him, the Emperor Shangs said to the idle Jiang Shangs. Yes, my lord. When Jiang Shangs saw that his opponent was only 9th level Nether Passage realm, he didn't care at all. He directly pulled out his dual blades and walked out. Brat, do you have any last words? Jiang Shangs said with a look of certainty on Yi Xian's face. No last words, but I have a question. Yi Xian shook his head and said,
Since it's the last question before you die, ask away. Jiang Shang's gripped the dual blades in his hands tightly. Hearing that, Yi Xian paused, then slowly asked, Actually, what I want to ask is, how do you guys reproduce? This was his question. Mushrooms were fungi. These mushrooms had mutated into mutated beasts. Then how did they reproduce? Could it be that they also went through OXX? Yi Xian was very confused. Of course, he didn't even know how normal mushrooms reproduce. However, his question angered Jiang Shang's.
Brat, you're courting death.
Jiang Shang's was furious and directly charged at Yi Xian.
I might not be the one to die.
Yi Xian stopped joking and instantly split into two, one on the left and one on the right. Ice and fire dual dragon sword formation. Jiang Shang's was comparable to second-level fulfillment realm cultivators. He might even be stronger than humans. However, Yi Xian was able to fight against 3 second-level fulfillment realm sect elders at the same time before. Now that he had broken through to the peak of the Nether Passage realm, how could a mere Jiang Shang's be his match? Immediately, the two sides began to fight. In Emperor Shang's heart, Yi Xian was already a dead man. He just didn't want to make a move. However, when he saw the situation in front of him, he was shocked. His subordinates were actually being suppressed by Yi Xian and were at a disadvantage. Moreover, it looked like their lives would soon be in danger.
You go and help.
Emperor Shang's turned and said to the other Jiang Shang's.
Yes, my lord.
This Jiang Shang's threw the 3 human corpses on his shoulders to the ground and also threw away the bag on his body. Then, he pulled out his dual blades and went to help. Chapter 1251. Seeing this, Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Everything was going according to his plan. Fusion of ice and fire. Dual dragon roar of ice and fire. Boom! That surging wave of air directly sent the 2 generals flying. The 2 generals each spat out a mouthful of purple blood and venomous liquid. Good boy, let me deal with you. Seeing that his 2 subordinates weren't a match for Yi Xian, the monarch mushroom coldly snorted and slowly walked out. Hee hee, you're coming? Yi Xian sneered. Just as the emperor was charging towards him, a beautiful figure suddenly appeared not far away. Luo Luo. After Luo Luo appeared, she quickly kept the corpses and the bag containing the wood essence and yin and yang rings. What? The emperor and the 2 generals were shocked. They clearly didn't see anyone else, but now, why was there suddenly another one? This boy has so many tricks up his sleeve.
The emperor said in his heart and directly slashed a blade light at Luo Luo.
This blade light was extremely sharp. If Luo Luo didn't dodge it, she would definitely be cut in half. However, Luo Luo didn't need to dodge. Keep. Yi Xian's eyes flickered. Luo Luo instantly disappeared, and that blade light missed. Young master, I got it. Luo Luo's voice sounded in Yi Xian's mind. Good. Yi Xian's lips curled up slightly. The items were all taken away by Luo Luo. Then, Luo Luo put the items into the planting space, and finally, they were taken away by Yi Xian. These 3 corpses were all second-level fulfillment realm martial artists. However, they weren't elders of Green Sun Sword Sect, but experts of Flying Scorpion Stronghold. Although they didn't have more than 1,000 fulfillment pills in their yin and yang rings, the emperor had already collected several yin and yang rings. In total, there were exactly 1,050 fulfillment pills. Enough. Ding. Host has broken through. Current level is first level of fulfillment realm. Ding. Host has opened up a Yuan Palace. After the 2 system notifications, Yi Xian's aura suddenly increased by at least 1-fold. Nether Passage realm to fulfillment realm was a major realm. In an instant, Yi Xian's physique and true energy had undergone a qualitative leap. However, the most important change was the opening of a Yuan Palace in his body. At the same time, the divine tree of life began to work, and began to refine vital energy. What? How did this kid suddenly break through? The monarch mushroom in front of him was extremely shocked. This was the first time he had seen a breakthrough in battle. Suddenly, he felt a sense of danger, mixed with a trace of the smell of death. Impossible, I'm comparable to a human at the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm. How can I be scared by a brat who just broke through to the fulfillment realm? He didn't dare to believe it, but he did feel a sense of danger. If he was careless, he would be doomed. All of you go.
At this moment, Monarch Shroom suddenly gave an order to the other two shrooms. My lord, this! The two generals looked at each other and panicked. When Yi Xian was at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm, he could already send the two of them flying. Now, Yi Xian had broken through to the Fulfillment realm, opened up a Yuan palace, and refined vital energy.
Wouldn't he be able to kill them?
However, they didn't dare to disobey Monarch Shroom's order. If they had any objections, they would probably be killed by Monarch Shroom first. Fight! The two generals knew that they were being used as cannon fodder, so they directly charged at Yi Xian, trying to break a rock with an egg die. Yi Xian's eyes flickered, and immediately turned into two bolts of lightning, attacking the two generals respectively. With two crisp sounds, the two generals were easily killed by Yi Xian. One was incinerated, and the other was frozen into an ice corpse. Instant kill.
Is this vital energy?
It's twice as strong as normal vital energy. Yi Xian couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Other people's vital energy was difficult to refine and recover. However, with the bloodline of the divine tree of life, he could recover it like it was child's play. Although the recovery speed was not as fast as normal vital energy, it was enough for Yi Xian to squander.
Chapter 1252.
In the blink of an eye, the entire sword bell was invaded by the sound wave attacks. As for the monarch mushroom, it was constantly enduring these attacks. It felt as if its head was about to explode. Fortunately, this was unleashed by Yi Xian himself. His true qi was immune to these sound wave attacks. Unleashing the dual dragon roar of ice and fire in this dual dragon sword bell is truly terrifying. Yi Xian looked at the monarch mushroom's pained expression and couldn't help but think to himself. If it was him, his ears would probably explode. Haha, looks like killing you won't be too difficult. Yi Xian couldn't help but laugh wildly. In the next instant, another dragon roar spread out. Wang! 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 The dragon roar echoed in the dual dragon sword bell. The monarch mushroom was dizzy from the dragon roar, and cracks appeared on the canopy above its head. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Xian once again gathered his true qi and attacked the monarch mushroom. Killing intent explosion. Dual dragon roar. True qi, killing intent explosion, eye of glory. These factors combined allowed Yi Xian's attack to have the power to instantly kill a 3rd-level fulfillment realm cultivator. The monarch mushroom was dizzy from the dragon roar, and with the addition of the scorching hell, its battle strength was less than 60%. It couldn't dodge this attack at all. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 2 dragon breaths instantly drowned the monarch mushroom. At this time, Yi Xian finally remembered a problem. This monarch mushroom's corpse was useful to him. Oh no! Yi Xian cursed, blaming himself for forgetting. Right now, he could only pray in his heart that the monarch mushroom's body was strong enough to not be burned to ashes. Boom! Another wave of air swept across the area. What made Yi Xian relieved was that the monarch mushroom's body was still strong enough to not be burned to ashes by the dual dragon roar.
Its aura has disappeared.
It's dead. Yi Xian sensed for a moment and walked over. At this time, the monarch mushroom had already been killed. Its entire corpse was in pieces and was too horrible to look at. Yi Xian immediately went over and stored it in his planting space as fertilizer for the heavenly treasure tree. Now that Yi Xian had broken through to the fulfillment realm, his combat power was extraordinary. If he wanted to, he could slaughter his way into the great bacterial empire's territory. However, just in case, he decided to rest for half a day in the Lost Forest and continue hunting. After half a day. Ding! The level of the planting space has increased. Currently at level 3. This system notification caused Yi Xian's footsteps to involuntarily stop. In fact, an hour ago, the heavenly treasure tree in the planting space had absorbed all the essence of wood. After another hour, the vitality of the world in the planting space had finally reached the required level. Now, the planting space was at level 3. Yi Xian sensed his surroundings and found that the planting space had doubled in size. The concentration of heaven and earth yuan qi had also doubled. This meant that Luolua's cultivation speed had doubled. Young master, I'm also about to break through. Luolua's voice sounded in Yi Xian's mind. Very good. Yi Xian was very satisfied. After a while, young master, I've broken through. At this rate, I'll be able to break through to the Nether Passage realm in 2 more days. Luoluo sent another message.
She had finally broken through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. Since that's the case, then you should cultivate well. This time, I'm going to show off my skills. After resting for half a day, Yi Xian felt that it was about time. This time, he was going to directly enter the Great Bacterial Empire's territory and go deep into it.
Although the Great Bacterial Empire had the Emperor Mushroom, who was even stronger than the Emperor Mushroom, with his strength, if he couldn't beat it, could he not run?
However, he didn't know if the legend of the Emperor Mushroom that Hualien had told him was true. The Emperor Mushroom was the first mushroom person, the ancestor of the Great Bacterial Empire. This was a super battle prowess at the 5th level of the Fulfillment Realm. With Yi Xian's current realm, he couldn't fight it. However, Yi Xian had the Eye of Eternity, and the mushroom person didn't have true qi or the power of all things, so he was still very safe. He immediately used the Eye of Revelation and began to leave the Lost Forest. Along the way, he encountered a few humans and mushroom people who were trapped in the Lost Forest. These people all had designs on him, and he killed them all. About 2 hours later, Yi Xian finally came out of the Lost Forest. At this time, he was already in the center of the Great Bacterial Empire's territory. Yi Xian identified the direction and then hurried toward the depths of the Great Bacterial Empire. This time, he was going to go on a killing spree. If everything went well, he might be able to increase the vitality of the planting space to another level. In fact, he might even be able to break through to the 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm. Yi Xian began to hurry again.
He felt that he would only need 2 hours at most to reach the depths of the Great Bacterial Empire.
Using his extraordinary senses, he killed all the unlucky people on the way.
Moreover, the deeper he went, the more mushroom people there were.
Just 10 minutes after Yi Xian left the Lost Forest. There's a large group of mushroom people ahead? Yi Xian's footsteps paused.
He sensed that there were hundreds of mushroom people in front of him. There were mushroom soldiers, mushroom leaders, general mushrooms, and even emperor mushrooms.
Could this be a military camp of the Great Bacterial Empire? Such a thought flashed through his mind.
In the Great Bacterial Empire, every person was a warrior, so there were a lot of them. There were at least 100,000 of them. The military camp in front of him had more than 100 people, and there were even emperor mushrooms.
This made Yi Xian's eyes light up.
So much fertilizer, I've earned big.
The corners of Yi Xian's mouth curled up slightly. Although he couldn't directly devour the corpses of these mushroom people, he could use them to fertilize the soil of the planting space. This would increase Lualua's cultivation speed.
Of course, the most important thing was that killing these mushroom people gave him a lot of killing intent.
Kill! At that moment, Yi Xian quietly snuck over. The military camp of the Great Bacterial Empire was very simple and crude. It was just a few tree holes. At this time, the 100 people just happened to be gathered together to listen to the leader, the Emperor Mushroom. Yi Xian sneaked over and then split into two. In the next moment, the two Yi Xian stabbed out with their swords at the same time. Double Dragon Sword Bell. Two phantoms of heavenly dragons circled in the air, condensing into a golden sword bell that fell down. What? The Emperor Mushroom and the other General Mushrooms were shocked. What the hell was this? Before they could react, the two Yi Xian quickly swept out. At the same time, the golden sword bell had already covered the ground. Tremble, mushrooms! Yi Xian didn't say anything and directly used a big move. Killing Intent Explosion. Dual Dragon Roar of Ice and Fire. Boom! This time, Yi Xian used Killing Intent Explosion, and its power was much stronger than before. This dragon's roar instantly blasted apart the mushroom soldiers. Even quite a few of the mushroom squad leaders died.
In the blink of an eye, there were only 20 or so living creatures left in the Golden Sword Bell.
Chapter 1253. The dragon's roar hit the Golden Sword Bell and began to echo.
After a few dragon roars, there was only one Emperor Mushroom left, as well as 4 General Mushrooms that could not even stand properly.
This move was much more useful than Bladestorm. After all, it had no cooldown and was completely executed using True Qi. TSKSK, I didn't even use my own True Qi and I was able to kill so many. If I used my own True Qi, would only the Emperor Mushroom be left? Yi Xian was very satisfied with this power. Who are you? At this time, the Emperor Mushroom could not help but ask. One attack had killed so many of his subordinates.
This was not something a human at the first level of the Fulfillment Realm could do. In Yi Xian's heart, this emperor mushroom was already dead. Therefore, he did not need to waste words with him.
Taste this move. Yi Xian's eyes flashed.
Dual dragon roar of ice and fire.
This time he used his own true qi.
The power was more than twice as strong as before. This time, there were no other enemies in the golden sword bell except for this emperor mushroom. At the same time, this emperor mushroom spat out several mouthfuls of purple poisonous blood and looked at Yi Xian in shock.
His head was about to explode.
I'll send you to the afterlife,
Yi Xian said coldly in his heart.
This time, it was the strongest move of the dual dragon roar of ice and fire.
Dual dragon roar. Boom!
The dragon's breath swallowed this emperor mushroom. Another third level of the fulfillment realm was killed by Yi Xian. In this dual dragon sword bell, Yi Xian's battle power was greatly increased. He even had the guts to kill that emperor mushroom with the title of king. Of course, this dual dragon sword bell had to have one condition, and that was to trap the enemy. If not, the effect would be greatly reduced. But then again, this time, Yi Xian had easily killed an entire camp of soldiers of the Great Mushroom Empire. There was even an emperor mushroom among them. This allowed Yi Xian to earn a lot of killing intent. If he destroyed the entire Great Mushroom Empire, would these corpses be able to increase his planting space to level 4? Whatever, let's kill them first.
Yi Xian didn't want to think too much. After all, it wasn't good to think too much.
It would only bring trouble to himself.
Immediately, he began to search quickly.
After he had broken through to the fulfillment realm, his eye of perception, his spiritual sense, and his killer instinct had improved a lot. He estimated that his perception had surpassed a human at the 4th level of the fulfillment realm. At this moment, what he hoped for the most was to encounter more military camps. That way he would feel good. After traveling for 5 minutes, Yi Xian finally found the second military camp. This camp was similar to the previous one. They both had a monarch fungus. Monarch fungi were actually equivalent to marshals in human empires, while monarch fungi were equivalent to royalty.
Yi Xian used the same old method.
He used stealth mode to sneak over and then used the twin dragon sword bell to trap his opponent.
Who are you?
This monarch mushroom's reaction was faster than the previous one, but it was useless. He was still trapped inside. In order to save time, Yi Xian immediately made his move. Killing intent explosion.
Eye of glory.
Twin dragon roar of ice and fire.
This time, he directly used his lifeblood true qi.
In an instant, a large number of the mushroom men inside the twin dragon sword bell fell. After a few rounds, only the monarch mushroom was left.
Twin dragon roar. Another killing move was unleashed. Yi Xian finished off this monarch mushroom.
A normal human at the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm would probably find it difficult to finish off even one monarch mushroom.
However, this was extremely easy for Yi Xian.
Another large amount of killing intent. Yi Xian walked over and collected all the mushroommen's corpses.
Then he prepared to leave. Continue.
His movements were very fast and very nimble. A battle didn't even take 5 seconds. The time spent traveling was much longer than the time spent fighting. One camp after another was destroyed by Yi Xian. The Great Mushroom Empire's army was quickly reduced in numbers. However, paper couldn't wrap fire. Soon, the news reached the ears of the Great Mushroom Empire's higher-ups. Immediately, the Great Mushroom Empire sent out their top fighting force. Monarch Mushroom. According to Hualien, there were a total of 5 monarch mushrooms.
This was a conservative estimate.
However, Yi Xian wasn't afraid of this monarch mushroom. He continued to destroy the Great Mushroom Empire's camps. Finally, after Yi Xian had slaughtered 8 whole camps, he finally encountered an expert that he could take seriously. At this time, he had just slaughtered the 9th camp. He looked at the 100 or so corpses on the ground and suddenly trembled.
He felt a slight movement. Whoosh!
The originally quiet battlefield suddenly had the sound of something breaking through the air.
So fast.
Yi Xian's chrysanthemum tightened, and he abruptly turned around.
Swish!
A crisp sound rang out, and a pillar-like object was thrown into the air. A wave of pain transmitted to his brain. Yi Xian dodged with a large stride and quickly pulled away. What had just been thrown into the air was his left arm. If his reaction had been just a bit slower, it would probably have been his head that flew up. The person who had ambushed him was a monarch mushroom of the Great Mushroom Empire. Moreover, this person was skilled in concealment and ambushing. In other words, this person was an assassin. Yi Xian focused his eyes and found that the person who had ambushed him was a thin mushroom person. This person was about the same height as him, but unlike the other mushroom people, this person's skin wasn't brown, but a disgusting black. There was a large king character on the giant umbrella. Monarch mushroom? Yi Xian immediately reacted. At this time, even if he was an idiot, he would probably be able to guess. Only the 4th level of the Fulfillment Realm monarch mushroom could ambush and cut off one of his arms. What powerful concealment abilities! Even my perception didn't detect it. Yi Xian couldn't help but gulp. At this time, his arm grew back as if nothing had happened. Brat, you're the one who destroyed several of my Great Mushroom Empire's camps? A cold voice rang out and entered Yi Xian's ears. The one who spoke was the Black Monarch Mushroom. Yes, it's me. Yi Xian nodded and said without hiding anything. How bold of you! A mere human dares to touch my great bacterial empire? This monarch mushroom said with a superior attitude. A mere human? Then why are you speaking the human language? Where did your sense of superiority come from? Yi Xian couldn't help but ridicule. You're courting death. When the monarch mushroom heard this, she turned into a streak of light and attacked Yi Xian without another word. Come, let me see what a 4th level of the Fulfillment Realm monarch mushroom is capable of. Yi Xian also used all of his skills. Twin Dragon Sword Bell. Chapter 1254. Too slow. The King Shroom thought that Yi Xian was going to use the dual Dragon Sword Bell to defend and couldn't help but snort. Is that so? The corner of Yi Xian's lips curled up slightly. Dual Dragon Roar of Ice and Fire. Boom. A shockwave swept out and reverberated within the dual Dragon Sword Bell. The King Shroom's expression froze. It quickly moved and used the 2 swords in its hands to disperse the shockwave. Seeing that the dual Dragon Roar of Ice and Fire had no effect on the King Shroom, Yi Xian thought to himself, as expected of the King Shroom, it has some skill. The Emperor Shrooms were only at the 3rd level of the Fulfillment Realm, so Yi Xian could easily kill them. However, the King Shroom was at the 4th level of the Fulfillment Realm, so it was several times stronger than the Emperor Shrooms. Moreover, the cultivation resources that the Great Shroom Empire obtained were probably all used on these Emperor Shrooms, so it was natural for them to be strong. However, Yi Xian didn't use his true strength. Killing Intent Explosion. Natal True Qi. Dual Dragon Roar of Ice and Fire. This time, Yi Xian used the strongest attack in the Dual Dragon Sword Bell. A sound wave attack 3 times stronger than before spread out. The King Shroom widened its eyes and quickly rushed to the Dual Dragon Sword Bell and stabbed with all its strength. Bang! A hole was poked in the Dual Dragon Sword Bell, and the King Shroom quickly flashed out. The sound wave attack reverberated within the Dual Dragon Sword Bell, but it had no effect. What a pity! Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. If the King Shroom hadn't escaped, the outcome of this battle would have been decided. However, in any case, Yi Xian could still continue to use the Twin Dragon Sword Bell. If the King Mushroom were to attack, he would be trapped inside again. However, the King Shroom wasn't stupid. After seeing Yi Xian's attack, it attacked from afar. Whoosh! 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 Streaks of energy slashed towards Yi Xian. Although the King Mushroom didn't have the true qi or the power of Wanxiang, his physique was several times stronger than Yi Xian's. A casual strike from him wasn't the slightest bit weaker than the attack of a martial artist at the 3rd level of the concept. Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Formation. Yi Xian also began to fight back. At this moment, he was thinking about how to kill this monarch mushroom. Even if Yi Xian had the Tree of Life bloodline, he wouldn't be able to use his ultimate moves continuously. After all, he would run out eventually. In that case, he had to think of another way. Yes, let's do that. An idea suddenly flashed through Yi Xian's mind, and it was highly likely to succeed. Although he really wanted to fight to his heart's content, he wanted to improve his strength even more. Therefore, he would not fight this battle. Bang! 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 The 2 Yi Xian fought fiercely with the monarch mushroom. However, the monarch mushroom was extremely fast, and Yi Xian couldn't hurt him. Combine! At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly combined into one, and then broke open a void door, and directly entered.
You want to escape? The monarch mushroom saw through Yi Xian's intention and hurriedly chased after him.
However, after he entered the void gate, he immediately regretted his decision.
Whoosh! He wanted to turn around and go back, but the void door closed before he could do so.
Monarch mushroom, you're in trouble.
Yi Xian sneered. Yi Xian had only located the primitive world of Wood Spirit twice. The first was at the entrance of the primitive world of Wood Spirit, and the other was at the headquarters of the Tree Demon Alliance. At this moment, the monarch mushroom was directly brought here by Yi Xian.
The moment he passed through the gate of the void, he felt waves of powerful auras. There were a large number of heaven-reaching beasts in the surroundings, and all of them were at the 3rd level of the fulfillment realm. There were even a few at the 4th level of the fulfillment realm.
Yi Xian, why are you back? Seeing Yi Xian suddenly appear, Hualian also asked in surprise.
Oh, I brought back a gift for you all, Yi Xian said without turning his head.
Everyone saw this gift, and it was the monarch mushroom at the 4th level of the fulfillment realm. After the monarch mushroom appeared, the heaven-reaching beasts also surrounded them.
You actually lured a monarch mushroom here, that's great.
Hualian also reacted and said, Big Gold, Big Mountain, Little White, he's yours. Big Gold was also a golden-eyed tiger king, and was one of the few in the 4th level of the fulfillment realm in the Tree Demon Alliance. Big Mountain was the mountain giant, and Little White was the snow wind demon spirit condor under Hualian. These 3 were all at the 4th level of the fulfillment realm. In addition to Yi Xian, this monarch mushroom's fate was sealed.
Let's go.
The monarch mushroom reacted extremely quickly, and hurriedly turned around to leave.
However, Big Gold had already turned into a streak of light and blocked its path. In the blink of an eye, the 2 sides began to fight.
This monarch mushroom also relied on speed to make a living, and so did Big Gold. Not only that, but Little White was also the same. With them here, Yi Xian didn't need to do anything. If these 3 4th-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beasts couldn't even beat this monarch mushroom, then they might as well just kill themselves. This was Yi Xian's plan, to kill with a borrowed knife.
How did you come back?
At this time, Hualian flew over and couldn't help but ask.
I have my own way.
Let's take care of this monarch mushroom first. Yi Xian said slowly. Then, the 2's attention was placed on the battlefield in front of them. Big Gold, Big Mountain, and Little White, the 3 4th-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beasts besieged the monarch mushroom, and the latter was instantly at a disadvantage. The mountain giant blocked its path of retreat, while Big Gold and Little White were in charge of attacking. In less than 10 rounds, the monarch mushroom was covered in wounds. Tree Demon Alliance, even if I die, you all will die with me.
The monarch mushroom roared loudly.
Humph, you're about to die and you're still talking nonsense.
Kill it.
Hualian said very unhappily. The moment she said this, the 3 heaven-reaching beasts went all out.
Bang!
Although the monarch mushroom was fast, the mountain giant's fist was bigger. After it was hit, it was sent flying, and purple blood spurted out. It was a tragic sight. Then, Big Gold stomped with all its strength, and turned into a streak of golden lightning.
Rip!
A crisp sound rang out, and the monarch mushroom was directly cut in half vertically, and instantly died. A monarch mushroom was stronger than a 4th-level intent heaven-reaching beast, but when 3 heaven-reaching beasts of the same level worked together, it couldn't resist at all. Chapter 1255. How is it? You don't regret working with me, right? Yi Xian smiled faintly.
No, I didn't misjudge you.
Hualian giggled and landed on Yi Xian's shoulder. If that's the case, I'll be taking the corpse. Yi Xian didn't stand on ceremony. He used the power of all creations to collect the corpse and put it into the planting space as fertilizer.
Can you continue to attract them?
Hualian asked excitedly. If Yi Xian could continue to attract the king fungi, then the great bacterial empire would be exhausted to death by them sooner or later. I can, but this king fungi is a little brainless, so they followed us. If someone doesn't follow, then there's nothing we can do, Yi Xian paused, then said. However, I have another method that's faster.
What method? Hualian blinked her large eyes curiously.
I have a private space. Perhaps I can hide you all in there. If I run into the king fungi in the great bacterial empire's territory, I can summon them to battle.
Yi Xian answered directly.
Private space? How is that possible?
Hualien couldn't believe it. When I was a mortal, I also thought that flying was impossible. But now not only can I fly, but I can also burrow into the ground, move mountains, and fill seas. In this world, nothing is impossible. Yi Xian waved his hand as he spoke. In the next instant, Luo Luo appeared in front of them. She's been in that space all this time. The Yuan Qi in that space is only slightly weaker than in the primitive world of the wood spirits. If you don't believe me, you can go in and take a look. Yi Xian continued. This time, Hualien fell silent. If Yi Xian really had the ability, then they might be able to easily annihilate the great bacterial empire. As long as Yi Xian was in danger, then these heavenly beasts could directly charge out and kill the enemy.
But could this really work? Roar! At this moment, a figure suddenly walked out of the crowd. It was the golden-eyed Tiger King, Little Gold. With Luolua's translation, Yi Xian understood what Little Gold meant. All right, you want to go in and take a look, right? No problem. Yi Xian nodded. After all, he was a human, and Hualien was the leader of the Tree Demon Alliance, so Xiaojin was worried. Those who are not of our race are bound to have different intentions. Yi Xian had also heard this saying a lot. Later on, don't resist and you will be able to enter my space. Yi Xian said to Little Gold as he used the storage function of the space to store Little Gold. This kind of plant space could only be entered with the other party's permission. In the next instant, Xiaojin disappeared. At the same time, Luo Luo disappeared as well. Xiaojin had already appeared in the planting space. Xiaojin's foothold was next to the heavenly treasure tree. It looked at the endless sea of flowers and was shocked. It had lived in the primitive world of the wood spirit for so many years and was very familiar with it. But now, it had appeared in another place, which was incredible. At this time, a few more figures appeared. They were the heaven-reaching beasts that had volunteered. A woo, beep, moo. One by one the heaven-reaching beasts came in and cried out excitedly. This place was very suitable for them. All right, come out after you've seen it. Yi Xian released the heaven-reaching beasts. How is it, Xiaojin? Hualien could not help but ask when she saw Xiaojin appear again. Oh well. Xiaojin could not hide its excitement and began to tell them what it had seen in the planting space. After listening to it, the surrounding heaven-reaching beasts were shocked. There was actually a private space? Yi Xian, how did you do it? Really? Hualien could not believe it. She had lived for hundreds of years, but this was the first time she had heard of such a method. Even a peerless immortality state or rebirth state powerhouse would not be able to create a private space, right? This is a private space called the planting space. I use it to plant treasures of heaven and earth, as well as to cultivate exotic beasts. Previously, I asked if you were willing to leave the primitive world of the wood spirit so that you could enter here, Yi Xian said. At this time, Hualien also thought of this matter. This place was not at all inferior to the primitive world of the wood spirit. Moreover, the owner was Yi Xian, so there was no need to worry about any enemies. Let me go in and take a look, Hualien said impatiently. No problem. Yi Xian did not say anything else and let Hualien enter the planting space. Not only that, but he also brought in Big Gold, Little White, Mountain, and the other fourth-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beasts. The planting space was currently at level 3, so it could accommodate heaven-reaching beasts. Moreover, it could accommodate heaven-reaching beasts that were 3 levels higher than Yi Xian. Soon, this large group of heaven-reaching beasts were all stored in the planting space by Yi Xian. There were hundreds of them, and all of them were second-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beasts. After entering the planting space, Hualien's eyes lit up as she looked at it. Just a single heavenly treasure tree can actually create such abundant heaven-earth origin qi. This is impossible, Hualien said in disbelief. The reason why the primitive world of the wood spirit had such abundant primal energy was because of the large number of heaven-reaching treasure trees. In the planting space, there was only one heaven-reaching treasure tree, so the amount of primal energy was a little strange. My planting space can't be calculated according to the rules of the outside world. Yi Xian's voice sounded in the planting space. Indeed, a single heaven-reaching treasure tree could not create such a large amount of primal energy. However, one should not forget that planting spaces had different levels. Moreover, this heaven-reaching treasure tree had grown up drinking Yi Xian's blood. How is it? This place is not bad, right?
Yi Xian projected a figure in the planting space and said with a smile, moving so many beasts here will consume a lot of primal energy. However, if you help me plant, I can open up a forest for you. Before, the planting space only allowed one heaven-reaching treasure tree, but now that it had reached the 3rd level, there was no such restriction. It was completely possible to create a primitive world of the wood spirit in the planting space. It is possible, but the great bacterial empire is not destroyed yet.
Huo Yan said after a pause. That's easy.
Yi Xian's heart stirred. In the next moment, these heaven-reaching beasts appeared in the headquarters of the Tree Demon Alliance in the primitive world of the wood spirit. I only need to borrow these 4th-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beasts. When the time comes, I will release whoever I encounter and the great bacterial empire will be destroyed in a single day.
Yi Xian continued.
If they thought about it this way, this was actually a mobile military camp. It was terrifying just thinking about it. But what if you were to accidentally fall? Huo Yan said worriedly.
Chapter 1256. Don't be afraid. Look again.
Yi Xian sent the Skirich beasts into the planting space, then released them again. This time, they weren't in the Tree Demon Alliance headquarters in the primitive world of the wood spirit, but in the eastern continent of the Bloodstone continent.
Where is this? Huo Yan looked around in shock.
She felt that the chi of heaven and earth here was too sparse. It wasn't even 1/10,000th of the primitive world of the wood spirit. This is the Bloodstone continent, my homeland. There aren't even manifestation realm experts here. I have one clone here, and the other 2 are in the primitive world of the wood spirit. As long as this clone of mine doesn't die, I won't die.
Yi Xian's 2nd clone replied. You have 3.
Huo Yan was very shocked.
That's right.
The other 2 are wandering outside, and this one is staying at home. That's very safe, isn't it?
Yi Xian's 2nd clone nodded.
At the same time, he sent Huo Yan and the others into the planting space. Now, there was no need to worry about them. Huo Yan was already convinced by Yi Xian. This human had too many tricks up his sleeve.
All right.
As long as we destroy the great bacterial empire, I can move the entire Tree Demon Alliance to your space and help you build it.
Huo Yan agreed immediately. Deal. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. This was his goal.
Huo Yan was the leader of the Tree Demon Alliance. She had thousands of Fulfillment Realm Skirich beasts and countless tree demons under her command. If all of them came to the planting space, then it would be awesome. The Skirich beasts could be summoned to battle. The tree demons could also continuously produce chi of heaven and earth. Most importantly, Huo Yan had a large number of wood spirits under her command. She herself was a higher-level flower spirit. Her ability to plant treasures was much stronger than that of the wood spirit king. In short, Yi Xian had made a huge profit. However, the prerequisite for the Tree Demon Alliance to move to the planting space was to destroy the great bacterial empire. Huo Yan, how many 4th-stage Fulfillment Realm Skirich beasts does your Tree Demon Alliance have?
Yi Xian asked.
Other than Big Gold, Big Mountain, and Little White, there's also Old Tree and Big Bear.
5 in total.
After Huo Yan finished speaking, there was a huge commotion behind Yi Xian. The gigantic heavenly treasure tree began to twist and turn. The old tree was a 4th-level Fulfillment Realm tree demon. As for the Big Bear, it looked like a very ordinary black bear, but its strength and fur defense were extremely strong. A casual slap from him could probably shatter Yi Xian's double dragon sword bell. The old Tree Demon Alliance had 5 4th-level Fulfillment Realm experts in total. However, only 4 of them were usable because the old tree couldn't be moved.
4 is enough.
The next time I meet King Shroom, I can just kill it.
Yi Xian nodded in satisfaction.
In that case, Xiaobai, De Jin, De Xiong, the 3 of you will go and assist Yi Xian. Huo Yan immediately ordered the 3 4th-level Fulfillment Realm heaven-reaching beasts. These 3 heaven-reaching beasts only listened to Huo Yan's orders, but for the sake of the Tree Demon Alliance, they had no choice but to obey Yi Xian's orders. Yi Xian immediately put the 3 4th-level Fulfillment Realm heaven-reaching beasts into the planting space. Big Mountain, keep a quarter of the wood essence and give the rest to Yi Xian.
Huo Yan said again.
The wood essence wasn't that important to the Tree Demon Alliance because it was something that existed inside the bodies of the tree demons. The wood essence could only be used on the normal heavenly treasure trees.
Huo Yan kept a quarter of it for future development.
Haha, thank you very much. Yi Xian laughed and put away all the wood essence that the mountain giant had poured out. Then, he had the heavenly treasure tree devour them one by one. The heavenly treasure tree would probably need a day or two to absorb tens of thousands of wood essence. Using this opportunity, Yi Xian once again broke through the void and returned to his previous location. If I run into the King Shroom, I'll have the three of you take action. If this happens a few more times, the Great Fungus Empire won't have any top-notch fighters left. Yi Xian projected himself into the planting space and said to the 3 4th-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beasts. These 3 heaven-reaching beasts were the top fighting force of the Tree Demon Alliance. If they worked together, no one except the legendary King Shroom of the Great Fungus Empire would be able to defeat them. Yi Xian immediately continued to move. The Great Fungus Empire had an army of 100,000. If they were all annihilated, the planting space might actually be able to upgrade to the 5th level. At that time, it would be able to accommodate 5th-level fulfillment realm heaven-reaching beasts. Yi Xian traveled through the Great Fungus Empire's territory. Because the news had been leaked, many military camps had begun to move and gather. However, this was all a waste of effort for Yi Xian. No, it was a stupid move for these military camps to gather together. The movement of such a large army would completely expose their position. Even without the help of the 3 heaven-reaching beasts, Yi Xian could easily annihilate them all. In order to increase the speed of their movement, Yi Xian directly rode on the Snow Wind Demon Spirit Condor and doubled his traveling speed. 1, 2, 5, 10. One military camp after another was annihilated by Yi Xian. In less than an hour, 20 military camps had been annihilated by Yi Xian. There were more than 2,000 people in total. At this rate, half of the Great Fungus Empire's army would be wiped out in a day. In 2 days, the Great Fungus Empire would be left with only a few generals. In the previous battle between the Tree Demon Alliance and the Great Fungus Empire, the Great Fungus Empire would attack while the Tree Demon Alliance would defend. It was because of this that the Great Fungus Empire was caught off guard by Yi Xian. After dozens of military camps had been annihilated, the Great Fungus Empire still couldn't think of a way to stop Yi Xian. They only sent out the King Shroom. Finally, after Yi Xian had massacred nearly 10,000 people, another aura caught his attention. No, it's not one aura but 2. Yi Xian's body trembled as he hurriedly kept the Snow Wind Demon Spirit Condor into his planting space and then landed on the ground. The 2 King Shrooms had struck gold this time. Ta-ta-ta. Soon, 2 figures were reflected in Yi Xian's eyes. Sure enough, they were the 2 King Shrooms. The words on their umbrellas exposed their identities. Human. It was you who killed so many soldiers of my Great Fungus Empire? A King Shroom that was as fat as a pig asked. That's right, it was me. Yi Xian didn't intend to pretend to be innocent and directly nodded in response. After Jun Yi left, there was no news of him. Could it be that he died at your hands? The other King Shroom that was thinner asked. Who is Jun Yi? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. However, in the next moment, he reacted. The Jun Yi that the other party was talking about should be the King Shroom that was good at assassination. Chapter 1257. Humph, it doesn't matter if you did it or not. Today is the day you die. The fat King Shroom roared angrily and slashed down with its blade. The other skinny King Mushroom also pulled out his sword. The 2 mushrooms were actually holding 2 weapons. Needless to say, this scene was extremely out of place. Yi Xian was only at the 1st level of the fulfillment realm, but the 2 King Shrooms didn't relax at all. Their eyes were fixed on Yi Xian, and they prepared to kill Yi Xian in one attack. Go! Fat King Shroom roared. Immediately, the 2 of them rushed out. Ice and Fire Twin Dragon Sword Formation. Twin Dragon Sword Bell. Yi Xian didn't waste time and split into 2. Unfortunately, the Twin Dragon Sword Bell was easily dispersed by the 2 of them. Big Gold, Little White, Big Bear, your prey is here. Yi Xian waved his hand, and 3 figures appeared on the battlefield. What? The 2 King Shrooms were shocked. Yi Xian was the only one here, so why did 3 Skyspan beasts suddenly appear? More importantly, they were 4th-level Fulfillment Realm Skyspan beasts. An illusion? That was their first reaction. However, when they heard the wind howling, they knew this wasn't an illusion. This was reality. Big Bear, Little White, you 2 deal with the fat one. Big Gold and I work together.
Yi Xian immediately ordered. Of the 3 sky-span beasts, the Tiger King was the strongest. Big Gold and Little White were both speed types, so they naturally had to split up. This way, they would have a higher chance of success. Roar! The big golden-eyed Tiger King roared and charged at the sword-wielding monarch mushroom. The 2 king shrooms were so scared they peed their pants and hurriedly turned around.
You want to leave?
Not so easy. Twin Dragon Roar. Yi Xian circulated his lifeblood true qi and attacked. Boom! Although the Twin Dragon Roar didn't hit the 2 king shrooms, it successfully intercepted them. In the blink of an eye, they were surrounded by 3 heaven-reaching beasts. At that moment, Yi Xian also rushed out and joined the battle. However, these 2 king mushrooms were much stronger than the Jun Yi from before. In a 2 versus 1 situation, they were able to handle it with ease. If 2 isn't enough, then I'll add 1 more. Yi Xian's eyes widened. In the next moment, another figure appeared. Luo. 100-fold demon fox clone. 100 heavy shackles. After Luo appeared, she immediately used a powerful control skill. Hundreds of whips lashed out at the Fat King Fungus. The latter was relatively slow, so it became Yi Xian's primary target. What? Big Bear and Little White were fighting against Fat King Fungus. It wanted to dodge, but Little White spat out an extremely cold breath to create a crystal wall that blocked its escape. Shill. The 100 shackles had been successfully sealed. 7-colored demon fire. 1,000-layer explosion. Without saying anything, Luo immediately used her trump card. Instantly, Fat King Fungus was surrounded by the 7-colored demon fire. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions sounded one after another. Even though Fat King Fungus's defense was not bad, it couldn't withstand Luo's explosion. It immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, preparing to forcefully break free from the shackles. But at that moment, another sound broke through the air. The snow wind demon spirit condor suddenly opened its mouth and shot out an icicle the size of a finger, directly piercing through the stomach of the Fat King Shroom. At the same time, the extremely cold aura also froze the stomach of the Fat King Shroom and began to rapidly spread. Not good. Fat King Fungus's expression changed. In a blink of an eye, it was hit by 2 powerful restrictive skills. Next, how was it going to dodge Big Bear's attack? Speak of the devil and he will appear. Just as he was thinking this, De Xiong had already rushed in front of him in large strides. The bear paw, which was bigger than a wash basin, fell down mercilessly. Boom! The Fat King Mushroom's canopy that was like a pavilion was fiercely slapped. Instantly, Fat King Fungus felt that its head was about to explode. Luckily, it had thick skin and did not die under that paw. But at that moment, killing intent explosion. Twin Dragon Roar. Suddenly, a fierce roar came from the side. Fat King Fungus turned its head to look and realized that it was Yi Xian who attacked it. What a joke! A King Fungus's killing intent value was shockingly high. It had forgotten about that Jun Yi just now. This time, it will not let anyone else take it. It must take it for itself. Fat King Fungus was restricted and could not dodge the attack. It was instantly swallowed by the attack. Ding! Host's killing intent value increased. After the system notification, Yi Xian's killing intent value increased by a large amount. Fat King Fungus, fallen. Then it would be that skinny one next. How dare you kill it? My emperor will definitely not let you go. The Thin King Shroom roared angrily. My emperor? Hearing this, Yi Xian raised an eyebrow and couldn't help but ask, my emperor is referring to Emperor Shroom. My emperor has already awakened. Just wait for your deaths. The Thin Emperor Mushroom roared. This sentence revealed a lot of things. It turned out that the legend of the Huang King Shroom was true. The Huang King Shroom had not died, but was in a deep slumber. Now he was awake. However, Yi Xian disagreed and sneered. So what if he's awake? As long as the skinny mushroom died as well, the Great Mushroom Empire would lose 3 king mushrooms. At that time, the Tree Demon Alliance would have the advantage in numbers. So what if it was the Royal Regent Shroom? They would still gang up on her. Roar! After Fat King Shroom died, Big Bear and Little White came over to help. Soon, the thin mushroom was beaten to the end of its strength. You will definitely die in the hands of my emperor. My emperor will avenge us.
The thin mushroom was still roaring at the sky. However, before he could finish speaking, he was struck by Yi Xian's twin dragon roar and instantly died a miserable death. Ding, host's killing intent value increased. The system notification said. Yi Xian usually ignored this notification, but it was still useful at critical times. The notification meant that the thin king shroom was really dead and would not come back to life to attack. At that moment, Yi Xian quickly rushed over and put away the corpse. Roar! Seeing the two king shrooms die, Big Bear and the others were very excited. Don't be happy too early. You heard it just now. The Huang King Shroom has awakened. Go back and discuss with your leader. Chapter 1258. You're back? How were your gains? Hual Yan, who had been waiting at the headquarters of the Tree Demon Alliance, hurried over and asked. We killed a few thousand soldiers and 2 king fungi. Yi Xian said directly. King Mushroom. Hual Yan's eyes lit up when she heard this. If all the king fungi died, then half of the great fungus empire would be gone. However, Yi Xian continued, however, before the 2 king fungi died, they said that the king fungi had awakened. What do you think? What, the king fungi? Hual Yan was shocked and said, that old mushroom really isn't dead. That's what they said. The truth is yet to be confirmed, Yi Xian said. Hual Yan fell silent. If Emperor Shroom was still alive, then things would not be so simple. The great fungus empire is made up of the old mushroom's descendants. Maybe it fell into a deep sleep after giving birth to so many descendants and needed to rely on natural treasures to survive. Now, maybe it has enough natural treasures, so it has awakened. Hual Yan said slowly. This was her guess. However, since it was a war, then they had to prepare for the worst. The worst-case scenario was that the king fungi was still alive. Even if that old mushroom is alive, there's only one of it. We have so many helpers here. Even if we can't beat it, can't we run? Hual Yan continued. That's right. That's why I'm thinking if you should all come in and attack. Yi Xian nodded and said. All of them. Hual Yan was slightly shocked. Yes, all of them. This is safer. Yi Xian nodded and said. The Tree Demon Alliance had 5 4th-level Fulfillment Realm Heaven-connecting beasts, 100 3rd-level Fulfillment Realm Heaven-connecting beasts, and thousands of 2nd-level and 1st-level Fulfillment Realm Heaven-connecting beasts. If they gathered together, it would be a terrifying army. One had to know that the Great Fungus Empire's defense line was very weak because they were the ones attacking before. Now that they were being counterattacked, they immediately collapsed. All right, I'll summon them immediately. Hual Yan nodded and then used a special method to summon all the Fulfillment Realm Heaven-connecting beasts around the headquarters. It took them about 2 hours to gather all of them. During these 2 hours, Yi Xian had also taken the time to destroy many of the Great Bacteria Empire's military camps. 2 hours later, he had collected all the heaven-connecting beasts into the planting space. There were more than 6,000 of them. More than 6,000 Fulfillment Realm Heaven-reaching beasts. Rumble! At this time, the headquarters of the Tree Demon Alliance suddenly let out a roar. Yi Xian turned his head to look and discovered that the voice came from the gigantic heavenly treasure tree. Oh, the old tree is coming out. Hual Yan murmured. It's coming out? Yi Xian was stunned. He did not understand what this meant. This heavenly treasure tree was actually a tree demon. Its combat strength was at the 4th level of the Fulfillment Realm. In the past, Yi Xian couldn't see through him because his realm wasn't high enough. But now, Yi Xian had broken through to the Fulfillment Realm. That is. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. He saw that the tree trunk with a radius of 100 meters suddenly cracked open. Then, a big guy who was 10 meters tall walked out from inside. The old tree is no longer a tree demon. It's the Devil Tree Battle Soldier. Hual Yan explained. Devil Tree Battle Soldier? This means that this tree demon has also mutated. Yi Xian immediately understood. Originally, this old tree was just a normal heavenly treasure tree. After mutating, it became a tree demon. After mutating again, it became the Devil Tree Battle Soldier. Don't be fooled by the old tree's small size. Its strength is above Big Bear and Big Mountains, Hual Yan continued. This sentence scared Yi Xian. Big Bear was the black battlefield bear. Its 2 full-strength slaps had seriously injured King Shroom. Big Mountain was the mountain giant that was as big as a mountain. He was also quite strong.
It was fine if the Devil Tree Battle Soldier was stronger than Big Bear, but could it be stronger than the Mountain Giant?
Young man, don't look down on me.
I've absorbed quite a few human essence blood. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier suddenly walked over. It looked very clumsy, but Yi Xian knew that its explosive power was very shocking. Its speed might not be slower than Big Gold. Senior Tree, I have quite a few enemy corpses here. If you want them, you can take them. Yi Xian directly said. Haha, then many thanks. If there are more, it might mutate again. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier said in an old voice. Mutate again? Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes suddenly flashed. His beast god bloodline had already evolved several times. This meant that he could sign contracts with more heavenly treasure beasts. At that time, if the Devil Tree Battle Soldier mutated, perhaps the beast god bloodline would also evolve. Senior, try this. Yi Xian suddenly took out some of his own blood potions from the devouring space and threw them to the Devil Tree Battle Soldier. Oh, let me try it. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier didn't think too much. It directly crushed the blood potion and threw it into its mouth. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier absorbed the blood that was full of vitality. Immediately, the Devil Tree Battle Soldier let out a satisfied sound. Old tree, what's wrong with you? Hualien couldn't help but ask. Good, this is too good. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier exclaimed. What blood is this? It made me grow so much. I originally had a lifespan of 50 years, but now I feel that my lifespan has increased by at least 5 years. This brat has a bloodline in his body. Those blood potions are actually my blood. Old tree, if you need it, you can have an unlimited amount. Yi Xian hurriedly said. An unlimited amount? When the Devil Tree Battle Soldier heard this, it immediately walked in front of Yi Xian.
Just as it was about to speak, it seemed to have thought of something and asked, Brat, what are your conditions?
It felt that Yi Xian definitely wouldn't give the blood potions for free. After all, humans were cunning. Senior is really insightful. Yi Xian gave a self-deprecating laugh and said, I want to sign a contract with Senior and become my helper. Haha, humans are indeed cunning. You want to use this to tame me?
The Devil Tree Battle Soldier suddenly laughed loudly.
No, it's a mutually beneficial contract. Yi Xian shook his head and said, My blood can have an unlimited amount. At the same time, I have a few special methods. As long as you sign the contract, your battle strength will instantly increase by 50%. At the same time, your growth speed will also increase by 50%. Battle strength and growth speed increase by 50%? The Devil Tree Battle Soldier felt a trace of disbelief. Even a tree that had lived for nearly 1,000 years had never heard of such methods. Perhaps it was because it hadn't seen many humans. After all, the entrance to the secret realm might not appear even once in 100 years. Chapter 1259. That's right. If you don't believe me, you can ask her. Yi Xian nodded. In the next moment, Luo Luo appeared beside him. Grandpa Tree, the young master is right. Can you guess how old I am? Luo Luo suddenly giggled. I can feel that you are not more than 20 years old. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier answered honestly. Yes, I am not more than 20 years old. To be more precise, I am not even 16 years old. Luo Luo nodded. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier and the surrounding beasts were shocked. A 16-year-old 9th-level Nether Passage Realm martial artist. This talent was already 180 streets ahead of them. Guess what realm I was 1.5 years ago? Luo Luo asked again. 9th-level Nether Passage Realm. 8th-level Nether Passage Realm. 8th-level Nether Passage Realm. The surrounding heaven-reaching beasts were all speaking in beast language. Luo Luo could understand all of these words. 1.5 years ago, I had yet to meet the young master. At that time, I was only a supreme.
Luo Luo suddenly puffed out her small chest and put on a proud expression.
What? That's impossible. The surrounding heaven-reaching beasts were all in disbelief. How could one go from supreme to the Nether Passage Realm in 1.5 years? It's true. Before I met the young master, I was only a supreme. After that, my cultivation speed skyrocketed. Supreme 3 minor disasters, Manifestation Realm, and Nether Passage Realm. Give me 2 more days, and I will be able to break through to the Fulfillment Realm. After Luo Luo finished speaking, she added, Oh right. Before we met,
The young master's realm was about the same as mine. In 1.5 years, she had broken through so many realms. This was truly frightening. On average, she would break through once every 10 days. Moreover, it was the same for Yi Xian. They didn't expect that Yi Xian had climbed up step by step. Huo Yan suddenly recalled that Yi Xian had said that he didn't belong to any sect. So it was true. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier hesitated. If what Luo Luo said was true, then Yi Xian's potential was limitless. Old tree, you can give it a try. If you're not satisfied, you can just cancel the contract. With so many beasts watching, I won't cheat you. Yi Xian said. All right, let's try it. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier nodded. Deal. Yi Xian immediately exchanged for a fulfillment realm contract and set it up. Hua! A huge contract array expanded, enveloping Yi Xian and the Devil Tree Battle Soldier. Immediately after, the Devil Tree Battle Soldier sensed something. Because they had already discussed this beforehand, the Devil Tree Battle Soldier didn't refuse. Ding! The host has successfully formed a contract with the Devil Tree Battle Soldier. The system prompted. Now, the Devil Tree Battle Soldier was Yi Xian's third target. The first was Wei Zhentian, the second was Luo Luo, and the third was Devil Tree Battle Soldier. Ding! The host's Divine Tree of Life bloodline has undergone a mutation. All advancement paths have been upgraded once. Right after the contract notification, another system notification rang out. Hearing this, Yi Xian was overjoyed. His eyesight was indeed not bad. This Devil Tree Battle Soldier was indeed capable. It actually allowed his Divine Tree of Life bloodline to evolve once, greatly increasing its recovery and detoxification abilities. Ding! The Divine Tree of Life bloodline is shared with the Devil Tree Battle Soldier. The third system notification once again caught Yi Xian off guard. Damn! Shared with the Devil Tree Battle Soldier? Yi Xian jumped in fright. This meant that the old tree's life force would be extremely tenacious in the future. As long as the Devil Tree heart in its body wasn't destroyed, it could endlessly recover. You're right. I feel that my strength has increased by quite a bit. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier was also shocked. It turned to De Xiong and said, Come, hit me. De Xiong didn't say anything and directly stepped forward, slapping the Devil Tree Battle Soldier's thigh. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. However, the Devil Tree Battle Soldier didn't move. Roar! De Xiong didn't dare to believe it. He and the Devil Tree Battle Soldier were both at the 4th level of the Fulfillment Realm. Although the Devil Tree Battle Soldier was stronger than him, his slap could still make the Devil Tree Battle Soldier retreat. But now it was completely useless. When De Xiong retracted his bare paw, the place that had caved in from the slap was rapidly recovering. Kid, the Divine Tree of Life bloodline in your body is truly too miraculous. I feel that my absorption ability has increased by quite a bit. Quick, give me more blood potions. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier said excitedly. No problem. Yi Xian directly threw blood potions at the Devil Tree Battle Soldier. The latter opened its mouth and swallowed them all. Although the Devil Tree Battle Soldier had the Divine Tree of Life bloodline, it only had an additional recovery ability. This was because it didn't have a bloodline in its body, and Yi Xian's blood was a great tonic for it. Ding! The Devil Tree Battle Soldier has broken through. It is currently at the 5th level of the Fulfillment Realm. The system suddenly notified. After swallowing hundreds of blood potions, the Devil Tree Battle Soldier's body grew a bit bigger and actually broke through to the 5th level of the Fulfillment Realm. Haha, I actually broke through. I thought I wouldn't be able to break through in my lifetime. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier laughed wildly at the sky, his voice much younger. He felt that he had made the right choice in recognizing a master this time. Congratulations to the old tree for breaking through. Seeing this, Huo Yan hurriedly said, Roar! Roar! The group of heaven-reaching beasts also cried out excitedly as if they were the ones breaking through. At the same time, many heaven-reaching beasts looked at them with envious gazes. Some even stared straight at Yi Xian, hoping that he could tame them. However, Yi Xian didn't want them if they didn't have a specialty. Some blood has accumulated in my body, so I need to slowly absorb it. Come, let's directly attack the Great Bacterial Empire. Even if that old mushroom is still here, I won't be afraid. The Devil Tree Battle Soldier said loudly. The old mushroom he spoke of was the Great Bacterial Empire's Emperor Shroom, who was at the 5th level of the fulfillment realm. He was also at the 5th level of the fulfillment realm now, and he also had such powerful recovery abilities.
How could he not beat that old mushroom? Roar! Hearing this, all the heaven-reaching beasts became excited. Then, they were all taken into Yi Xian's planting space. The great battle is about to begin. Now, let's directly attack the depths of the great bacterial empire. The corners of Yi Xian's mouth curled up slightly.
Before, he was still a bit afraid of that Emperor Shroom, but now it seemed that he didn't need to. Today might be the day that the great bacterial empire perished.
Immediately, all the heaven-reaching beasts, including Hualien, were all taken into Yi Xian's planting space. This was a terrifying army, and Yi Xian was now their commander. Eye of the Void. Yi Xian broke through the void and arrived at the great bacterial empire's territory.